Jump right in. We have a few additions to the agenda, but I think we're gonna put those under other business.
Okay.
And we'll get to them all. We will front load this to take care of anything that pertains to Tim. Dave, I know you emailed me earlier with about 4 items. And if we need Tim to weigh in, we'll put those up front.
Okay.
Approving minutes, we had December minutes that were distributed for a second time earlier in the week. Hopefully you've all had a chance to review those and maybe even made a copy. So we got the email with the DDR due diligence review information from Tim that was tacked on to the end of those. Does anybody have any corrections or additions on those minutes? Then I would accept a motion.
I move that we accept the minutes from the
That was December 10th.
11th.
Checking it.
And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Anyone? Lisa?
Not opposed.
All right. I was gonna say silence is golden, but that's even better. Okay. We're gonna jump right into the Clean Lakes Committee, Water Department Liaison. Tim, maybe you can help us out here. I've been in touch with Nick Lawler, and you are not going to be replaced by anyone at the Water Department. And I don't know what our next course of action is on that, but we definitely need some kind of a liaison with the town. Maybe Mark, do you know? I CC'd you on an email after having talked to Nick over a few days, well, since the end of January. And I really thought we were gonna zero in on one of the guys we've worked with at the Water Department, but it's not happening.
So Karen and I are advocating for changing the new Tim into a full-time position and being the liaison, either paid for through the Water Department or through the town. I'm not sure which.
Great.
They posted the new Tim position at 25 hours where Tim can correct me. I don't know if there's anyone that's applied for it at 25 within the next couple of weeks. If there's not anyone, we're going to push to make it a 40 and see if we can get someone in that way.
Awesome.
How lucky we'll be on pushing or finding someone, I really don't know, but that's where we're coming from.
Somebody's out there and somebody's hungry. We'll see.
Mark, I only know of one person that has applied for the position at 25 hours so far. It's possible that there's been others, but there's only been one application that I've seen.
Okay.
And Tim, this is Rob Rounce, when I spoke with you previously, you'd not watched the CONSCOM most recent meeting. Have you since watched that?
About half through.
Okay, so I just want to throw out that CONSCOM discussed the aspect that Mark, you and Select Board during FinCom joint presentation had dialogue with Chase Irving, co-chair of CONSCOM.
Oh, should I
And
give you my,
there were several
Oh, I just
pushbacks,
got
if you will, by both Chase and
Okay.
Darcy were the other co-chair with regard to thinking that rather than have the position filled, rather if Select Board FinCom can come up with any money, that money would be best done with a consultant to create what I believe they called an inventory of responsibilities, because Conservation Committee doesn't feel like they adequately understand what would be appropriate, needed by Clean Lakes Committee with regard to the various responsibilities. And in that regard, they cited what they believe is tremendous challenge of Tim, not because he's not capable to do, but the reality is Amy's leaving with decades of experience. Tim doesn't have those decades of experience, and then to bring on the weight of the water responsibility that CONSCOM has never actually had, they're concerned with regard to how many, my words, not theirs, so I'll be real clear about that. I'm paraphrasing a lot here, but they're really concerned with overloading, Tim in his new full-time position. on a positive side, if I heard it correctly, and this I'm a little bit less certain of, but I think what I heard was they identified a neighboring community that has a similar part-time position out, and one of the CONSCOM members said they had heard that there were several applicants for that position. They were hopeful to potentially cherry pick some of those applicants from the different community once that community is resolved with their hiring situation. So I'll just offer that up with regard to, there's several moving parts with regard to doing what I certainly applaud Mark and Karen trying to get additional hours. I think that could go a long way, but there needs to be a meeting of the minds of those groups, CONSCOM, Select Board, FinCom, as well as Clean Lakes and potentially water to come
agent.
together, et cetera. So I'll
Conservation
stop there.
agent.
No, it's great. And
Which CONSCOM meeting is that?
a question for you, Mark. So glad you came tonight.
Conservation
Uh,
agent.
This employee would be working for the town,
Yes.
He's taking.
okay,
place.
under
We're trying to
what
hire a new assistant.
So
capacity? Yeah, we've always had a liaison with the water department, so this is brand new territory for me.
So, well, it's still, the water department is still the town, so,
Sure,
so either, the idea that Karen and I had would basically, we're going out for a part-time assistant conservation agent, we make it full-time,
I see.
and part of their responsibility would be for Clean Lakes. Whether it was funded through town revenue or water department revenue was still up in the air, but
Yeah.
because it's
Okay.
basically, Tim was a full-time assistant conservation agent with some hours from the water
Yeah,
department.
we were always asking which hat Tim was wearing.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so that proposal, our new liaison would sit on CONSCOM with Tim.
Yes.
Got it. And someone would still have to liaise with water department.
As an assistant, well, yeah, Nick was very clear that anything, that comes under the, water commissioner's purview, mostly pertaining, of course, to Spec Pond, but also, water quality testing, what have you, any of the, activity at Stony Brook, and any of the work that has to be done there would certainly be under their, jurisdiction. And yet, but that, beyond that, we'd be seeking, some input from some other source.
Who did you say would be responsible for all those things?
That the water department would see to it that those things were taken care of,
Oh, okay,
whether through its, Josh or, Matt or somebody, but,
okay. So, yeah,
just
water
touch
quality
base
and
with Nick
Stony Brook.
and, yeah, right.
And, presumably, like bidding?
No, not if
So-
it pertains to anything other than Spec Pond.
Water department funding.
Yeah, anything under the water department budget, essentially, would be taken care of by the water department. So
And
that-
otherwise we need somebody else to
Yeah.
work with us to develop the bid
so
documents.
the dredging permit is on our shoulders right now. So
Oh.
that's
So-
the
I-
big thing. Go
I
ahead, Tim.
think the water department might be amenable to still helping out with putting out those bid documents, just because those bid documents are kind of structured to meet the water department's procurement standards.
Mhm.
And I thought I spoke with Matt about that, and it had been a little while ago. I don't know if things have changed since, John, you talked to Nick, but I thought he said that they were open to still helping out and assisting with that. I could follow up.
That would be really helpful. We've got this transition period through the end of the month, and it doesn't look like we've got anyone to transition into, but,
Yeah.
anything you could say to Matt or whatever, to clarify things would be great.
So
Yeah.
Tim, you're talking about the water department will help prepare the documents, but once anything is awarded, they don't want to manage the process after that? Is that,
Yes, correct.
okay?
At least that was my understanding, of to the extent that they were willing to assist with that once I was out of here.
Is there a clear job description then for what, I mean, this is kind of what you were saying about inventory of responsibilities. Do we have a clear what this role, what does Tim do? Like, do we have a
You
list?
mean a Clean Lakes liaison, description?
Yes, what's that person's job description or does that exist?
There hasn't been one.
And that's why what Rob touched on, that's why Conscom talked about that, is because they want to be sure that they're putting out an accurate description of what this
Right.
will entail. So they touched on getting a third party to come up with a scope of work and a job description, basically a list of everything that the position would entail. I mean, there might be
It
some
seems like you
things.
could start with that, Tim, right? You could jot down what you think you're doing right now.
Right.
We-
Well,
to that.
yeah, I mean, here's
Yep.
the thing, I mean, from our inception, what, 26 years ago, we worked in concert with, our liaison at the water department, and they executed everything with the backing of the water department. They had the credibility, we don't have any authorization as members of this committee to, sign off for anything on behalf of the town, or initiate anything at that point. I mean, we've done some grants through, community preservation, but beyond that, we've always had the water department to sort of, say, you know, this is legitimate, you know, these aren't just a bunch of volunteers. Uh-oh, we are a bunch of volunteers.
But not just.
Cami, back to your
Best
point.
volunteers.
Cami, back to your point. I mean, it's important in order to come up with an accurate job description. We need to know what the water department is for sure going to be assisting with in perpetuity. So in order to, we need to get that probably in writing would be best, to have a record of, you know, them stating this is what they're going to help out with in the future, and we'll figure out what they're not going to help out with, and then the CLC liaison would assist with that.
Got it. Yeah, no, correspondence with Nick got, more and more restrictive as things went along.
So, Rob said that some other communities basically hiring someone, so they must have written a job description.
Mhm.
So I
It was
suggest,
for a part-time position.
doesn't matter.
But it's
But-
not on a Clean Lakes, is it a
I-
Clean?
It doesn't
Lakes?
have to
I
be-
can't
it
speak
doesn't
yet.
need-
I
So-
can't put in
Yeah.
too much more.
Rob, I think I saw what you were talking about. I saw that part of the meeting, and
Okay,
I think what they were talking about was Sterling had a job posting for a conservation agent position, but it was in coordination with another town. I don't know if it was Rutland. It was basically conservation agent split between the two towns. I don't think I don't think they mentioned any CLC like duties, but I'm not sure. And
and Josh, consistent with what I thought I was hearing as well.
yeah, they were saying they got some good applicants, and it was a 40-hour position, and that they might, like you said, we might be able to cherry pick some of those people that applied that didn't get selected.
Sorry, Tim, did you say that there was, that somebody had been identified to, put together a job description for the CLC liaison?
No, there was just discussion of having a third party put that together.
And I am suggesting that perhaps Tim could take a first pass at that with what he knows he does.
Yep.
John, it might make sense for you to have a conversation with Nick at Water Department and say, what are you guys gonna do for us going
You know,
forward?
we could easily go to Matt, who
Or Matt,
actually
right,
filled this role.
Right.
And,
well, or even Corey, he's still in town, but let's, you know, do a catalog, Tim, of what you think we do, and then we can vet that, right? And then that could feed into whatever Conscom is working on.
I mean, if you can get the roles and responsibilities, I can commit to getting people to help turn it into a job description.
Great.
And I'd just like to throw in that I think an emerging aspect that hasn't necessarily been undertaken by anybody recently years is aspects of Littleton to Westford in the form of either Conscom, type aspects for Clean Lakes to Healthy Pond, Healthy Lakes and Pond type aspects. The whole Lake Manawanaki / Forge Pond from a town government administration officials to officials, I think increasingly is a vulnerability for Littleton in that we know they've stopped CPC funding in Westford, and yet we have this dilemma that you folks are now moving through with CPC and the like with regard to, so how do we get money from Littleton CPC, and how is that money going to be utilized on half of a lake, and how does that, so my point is that I don't think neither Tim nor anybody, Matt Silverman, Nick Lawler, Jim, I'm not trying to throw darts at people. I'm just saying, I think that's an emerging, if the town's going to put a resource dedicated to pursue issues pertaining to waterways, ponds, et cetera, on behalf of its residents, then I think that becomes a brand new item within the job description, theoretically, subject to those that have the, ability to.
Yeah,
determine
and
those
that's good. Yeah,
responsibilities.
definitely. The collaboration would need to initially be directed in the town government above the, well, Healthy Lakes and Ponds Collaborative. I've reached out to all of the members of the Westford Healthy Lakes and Ponds Collaborative and the co-chair for it, looking for ways to develop more support in the town for the lakes and the funding. And there was no interest, not even any responses. So I think it's definitely something that makes sense, but I think we need to initiate it at a level above or in collaboration with the chair and, somebody else in town.
So I think what we're saying, Tim will come up with a list of what he thinks, like, what are your current tasks vis-a-vis Clean Lakes Committee? We'll vet that with Matt and Corey.
Yeah.
We should also consider what's missing from this list, to your point, because there's stuff that you guys do and
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
that's like you guys are doing that role, and I think what Rob is saying is a
Yeah.
more official town-to-town communication should be happening between Westford and Littleton vis-a-vis the lakes.
yeah, I think it'd probably
Yeah.
be more productive.
So is that something that needs to happen fairly quickly if
Yeah.
this,
Well,
if this is gonna get hired? Yeah.
Yes. It has to happen quickly.
So the job description list, so Tim, is that something
job
you could,
description, yeah.
you could bang out in the next
Half an hour?
week?
Instead of driving home, you can do that.
Yeah, I could definitely put together a list of duties and responsibilities that I am familiar with that the
That
Clean
would be
Lake
great.
requires.
And then maybe we can have Matt and or Corey look at that.
Sure, yeah.
And Tim, if you have people coming in for these interviews before this is all vetted, you might want to ask their interest in this and if they are interested in 40 hours and so on
Yep.
and so.
Yep, that was already on my mind. Yep.
Yeah, you can point out that an interest in Clean Lakes Committee could give them an edge in the hiring process.
Right.
I think it's hard if we're not doing this as the assistant conservation agent to hire two bodies.
Yeah.
Right, because if it's water department's funding these 16 hours, then wouldn't you want the water department to be hiring that body? And now you're trying to convince them,
Yeah.
which is even versus trying
Yeah.
to convince the town to hire two bodies.
Right.
They seem to be stepping away from it, so.
I know, I'm
Yeah, I
trying to
think it
figure out
makes
how to-
sense to have it live under conservation. That seems to me like a good home for this. Tim has been really invaluable because he sits on conservation already.
Mhm.
So we want another one of you, Tim.
Yeah, and I think it's
Just younger.
yeah. It really depends on, bumping the position up from 25 to 40 hours gives me more confidence that we'll get somebody with a stronger background, specifically in things that staff for Conservation Commission deals with, right? And, we'll have a lesser chance of having to take somebody who's really not well-versed or knowledgeable about all the stuff that we do. If that's the case, that we get somebody with more experience, that's less time that I have to spend training them and getting them up to speed on our operations, and more time that they can spend learning the ropes of Clean Lakes. But it's going to be a tough. I mean, it's already going to be a tough transition with Amy leaving, even though she's technically only like 25 hours, she puts in extra hours, and the 25 hours that she does are a very efficient 25 hours.
You don't have to kiss up to her.
I know she's leaving.
Is it,
Preferentially, it'd be nice to hire somebody from Mass DEP.
Yeah, that'd be it.
All right.
Just throw that
Maybe a
out
lot of
there.
federal employees looking for work.
Yeah.
A bride might be cheaper.
I wonder if this David Wong guy needs a little side job.
That would be sweet.
Okay, well,
Let's
let's,
hire his son.
can we can move on from this, I guess. So we'll miss you, Tim.
Yeah.
But we're not going to, because he's gonna have his person will be reporting into him.
so, does she leave at the end of the month?
Amy, yes, she's done on the 27th.
Okay. And that's when you would be, and you'd be staying as a liaison until we have a replacement?
I think Nick Lawler actually offered for that title until we have a
I don't think
replacement.
you did.
John, am I mistaken? I thought he said in his latest email to you to put his name down.
He said to contact him, if we have anything within water department purview, that needs to be addressed.
Okay.
And of course, that sort of cramps things down pretty.
So Tim, you're saying you heard he offered to come to our meetings, but John is saying something different?
He's saying, don't go rooting around, come to me and I'll find somebody to do it for you.
Yeah. I wrote, I wrote to Nick a couple of times, and I wrote to Matt, and he said, just write to me.
We can move on to Tim with the
So.
DCR type activity.
No, it says, Nick says, LELWD will absolutely continue to support CLC activities as they relate to the water department, such as invasive control, Spectacle Pond, and continued partnership with Westford regarding Stony Brook stream flow. Not sure that we can support a full-time liaison at this time. This is coming from Nick. As our staff time is limited due to water department projects, I'm sure we can continue to work hand in hand with the town to support all CLC goals. In the meantime, please feel free to reach out to Matt and I. We are needed on water department related CLC matters.
So water quality testing on the other lakes would not be under their purview?
Oh, yes. All of that was fun.
I think we need to move on.
Okay,
All of that is them.
okay. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't
Yeah,
just spec
no.
pond for water quality
Yeah,
testing,
no.
because that's something Tim
No.
has been,
No, that,
Yeah.
we'll get Josh or somebody or other,
okay,
give us and they've got the testing equipment, so.
yep, okay.
They're gonna tell us what they're committing to.
Yeah, thank you. All right, DCR next.
Hold
Yeah.
up. Wait a second.
There's more.
Yep, in Nick's email at 11 o'clock yesterday, he goes on to say, in the meantime, you could put me down as the CLC liaison until this issue is resolved. Finding
Oh, where's that? I never saw that.
Yeah, forward that one around.
It was sent yesterday at 11:37 a.m.
Okay.
I could forward it to you right now, John.
This, yeah, I think this is complicated. Oh, okay, yeah, no, I don't think I've seen this.
Does he understand that to mean he's coming to
I do have this,
meetings?
I don't know.
Tim.
So that might be worth clarifying. Do you?
Yeah.
Coming to meetings or just like we can reach out to
No,
you
I have
and
not
ask
seen this. This says, I think it's complicated because CLC is a town committee appointed by the, select board. Has functions across several departments in key areas, of which only a few involve water department matters. LELWD is not changing our support for CLC and will continue to support the projects that make sense for us in the FY25 water budget. LELWD set aside $157,000 for CLC projects that benefited the water department and supported town hall staffing by budgeting approximately $15,000 to fund a CLC town liaison. Our commitment to the FY26 budget has not changed, and we have budgeted $108,500 for CLC projects that benefit the water department, and once again have budgeted to support town hall staffing by budgeting approximately $15,000 to fund a CLC town liaison. I will let Jim Duggan answer the question regarding what CLC is authorized to do with or without a liaison, because this falls under his and select board purview. In the meantime, you can put me down as the CLC liaison until this is resolved. Please continue to communicate the needs of CLC, and I will facilitate your needs with the appropriate staff resources.
I do think that's noteworthy because, Tim, that's a continuation of essentially what you were doing this past year with your hours on Thursday for the water department, correct?
Yep.
Okay,
This is helpful. Not golden, helpful.
DCR.
All right. So yep, I sent you guys a very brief summary of my meeting, how it went with DCR Lakes and Ponds last week. I met with Kara and a couple other folks over there, and they also, like many of the other people that we have, or that I have reached out to and talked about the DEP permit that we're going after, we're not familiar with the process of obtaining it for invasive plant removal. However, they did have very good insight, and we didn't go into too deep of detail on just general lake management stuff. I mean, invasive plants, eutrophication, PFAS, the effects of herbicide use in terms of PFAS and eutrophication, and just general other lake management stuff that I think would be very beneficial for everybody to hear, not only CLC, but also the water department, as they have their stance against herbicides on Spectacle Pond due to PFAS concerns with their well over there. And so they actually offered to have a meeting, either join a meeting that's already scheduled or have a separate meeting, which I think would probably be the better case with you guys. And I've reached out to Matt, and I've been meaning to reach out to somebody at Parks and Rec. Matt said he'd be interested in attending. Karen said she was interested in attending as the select board liaison, and they mentioned that they would prefer for it to be during the daytime. However, if that absolutely cannot happen, they could probably make something work during an evening meeting. I think it would probably be best to have it as not a hybrid like we do with these meetings, but to have it be only virtual, only on Zoom. But again, if it needs to be hybrid or something, if you guys have concerns, please mention them. But
I don't think there's any.
what would be wrong with hybrid?
I mean, it's just a little, it's tough with the owl, as I'm experiencing right now. Even if there's a main conversation going on and somebody's like whispering to another person, the whispering volume is the same volume as the other conversation, that the main conversation. So it can make it very difficult to hear. I just think it would probably flow better if it was only Zoom. The owl can also, as we also have experienced, the owl adds, throws a wrench in there and creates some problems from time to time.
Yeah, there were people, I think there was some indication last night at Park and Rec that they'd be interested, some of them might be interested in
Great
attending
deal of
that.
enthusiasm for.
There was, okay.
Yeah, this is great. Now, you were thinking this could happen as early as next month, or do we have a set schedule?
Yeah, I think March is I think that would be a good time to schedule it. They just need a little bit of lead time on schedule, and they're over at DCR. They said a couple weeks.
Okay, and then how specific can we get with questions for them regarding each individual pond, for example? I
mean, I don't want to speak on their behalf. I didn't really ask them, but the whole purpose of this is educational. So I'm assuming they'd be pretty open to very, lake water body specific questions.
Does it sound like they sort of would have a discussion of like a pre-prepared presentation of these are things that would be good for all of you to know, and then they'd be open to just questions?
I think actually probably quite the opposite, Dave. I think it's probably more of these are our
What-
concerns.
Okay,
What do you guys have to say about, like, what do you guys think? Can you help educate us on the best way about going about managing this?
Yeah, I think we'd want to know what best practices have you found vis-a-vis invasive management, right? What's working at DCR? What are you allowed to do? What barriers and obstacles do you have in place?
Right.
Something like that.
they were the ones that, one of the ones that told us, a year ago that, we shouldn't have to deal with a dredging permit for plant harvesting. They said, that never happens, you're
Yeah.
wrong. And then they kind of went quiet when, we ended up in the thick of it.
Yeah, they
Does-
mentioned the
Does
majority.
DCR not have to respond to DEP? Or
No, they just knew what the situation was. And
Okay.
they said, work with the circuit riders. So we did, and then everybody went quiet.
I see.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rob, sure.
So I just want to throw out Tim, potentially for you, John, Mark, even, because this is educational and because we had such a great August stakeholder meeting that Jim Duggan initiated, this has the feeling to me that, and I throw out to Mitt as well, people from CPC might have an interest because increasingly Clean Lakes is going to CPC and there's questions with regard to how appropriate and options available, et cetera. I want to throw out with kind of Mark, who's juggling with Board of Health sort of challenges, and Board of Health has a role theoretically that I think I hear Park and Rec in previous meetings, not last night but previous meetings. So I just want to throw out that there might be a number of what I'm going to call stakeholders with regard to Littleton's ponds and waterways that you might find we can all see how some of us and some that we have already named definitely want to be in there, but I want to throw out that there might even be a much bigger net of interested parties because Clean Lakes in the last year has had to go out to new funding sources, and as the ripples keep on going, extending, it's great that Pete's here tonight from Park and Rec. I think we're increasingly seeing that sort of interest in all things, et cetera. So I just want to throw that out before we narrow it down to just a few select people.
I think Pete also has a dual interest. He works for DCR too, right?
I did not know that.
Yeah, right.
Am I not correct, Pete?
Got it?
He went to get a drink. Are you on mute?
There we go, I'm sorry.
This guy's hands up.
He has his hand up.
I'm in the forestry world, so I stay away from water as much as possible.
One of them.
But you do work for DCR.
Yes.
So I think it would be, if we're, if it's more than just mostly us, and we're kind of willing to be sort of, what do we got? I think it'd be useful to have, that CLC would develop a set of, questions ahead of time that we'd like to have, addressed and discussed. And, so that we have
There should be an agenda.
yeah.
Yes. So it sounds like people are interested. Tim, you asked if it needed to be a public meeting, if it's a quorum. I'm gonna guess it would be, and that we should post it as a public meeting, and then it can be shared with everyone, and we would have an agenda with
Yeah.
the questions to ask them.
If it's not a Clean Lakes meeting, it wouldn't necessarily.
But if there's a quorum of Clean Lake, well,
Oh, doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
yeah.
I think you're right.
It's easier to post it and not have a meeting than
Correct.
the other way around.
So it's not a Clean Lakes Committee meeting, but it's just a educational session, learning about
Posted
the
as a
lakes
Clean
from
Lake.
DCR.
Post it as a Clean Lakes meeting and your entire thing is, your minutes are, we talked to DCR about
Right,
an info session and you're done.
right.
I mean, yeah,
So you're saying it should be a Clean Lakes meeting?
post it as a Clean Lakes
Yeah,
meeting.
okay.
It just makes it cleaner.
Yeah, yeah.
Your minutes will be
That's true.
very
Yeah.
brief.
Okay. So we should come up with a list of questions that we want.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I don't think it's
We
that
should-
hard. It's,
We should correspond a little bit, email wise.
Okay.
Do you guys think it would be beneficial to send that list of our finalized list of our questions over to DCR for them to
Yes.
get
I
an
think
idea
we
of
should-
what we're gonna ask them? at
I
the
do
meeting?
think we should work towards that, so they have, something they can, prepare for,
Yeah.
and I think that'd be great.
yeah, that's awesome.
Cami, would you start that
Yeah,
email chain? and
I can start that.
Jot a few things down.
John,
Who we got? Oh,
Oh, Saul joined.
got it. Pete,
I would also recommend, if you do send them questions, also grant opportunities. What's out there for grant opportunities for Littleton?
Yep.
Oh, good. Yeah, great.
Part of what I discussed with them on our meeting last week was the fact that, so this past year, there was a grant, or last year, sorry, there was a grant opportunity for aquatic invasive treatment for invasive plants that were considered eradicatable, but the invasive plants that we have here in Littleton aren't considered eradicatable. They're presumed that if you have them, that they're going to be here forever. So we didn't qualify for any of that funding, so we didn't submit anything. And I voiced that concern to them. And I also voiced that to the state when I met with the chief of staff for Jamie Eldridge and I can't remember the representative's name when I met with him last month.
RCO.
Partially.
That's correct. Sorry. And they mentioned that they would that would be something that they would work on.
Huh, I didn't know that. Non-eradicable, that sounds pretty ominous, huh?
Hmm.
So Tim, are you able to coordinate with them on dates? And
Yep,
just
I
pick
am.
a date in March? Okay.
Do you guys think a daytime meeting would be feasible?
I would think we should just make it super easy for them.
yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yes. Daytime is feasible.
I know it would also be easier to get like somebody from the water department, maybe multiple people from Parks and Rec. And you know, other departments too. Like Rob said, we don't have to constrain it to just a couple other departments. There's multiple stakeholders.
If you can avoid the week of March 17th, that's college spring break, and a lot of people will probably be busy that week with kids home and stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll send out an initial doodle. I'm trying to think. I'll get some dates from DCR, and then once I have those dates, I'll send out a doodle poll and see what works for most people.
That's
Awesome.
great. This could be big.
We're learning things.
Let's hope. That's great.
All right, Tim, how are you holding up?
I'm getting I'm getting hot flashes here and there.
So
But,
what else is on the agenda that we need to focus on for you? The dredging permit stuff?
yeah, I don't have too much of an update on that. I wasn't at the water department on Thursday because of the snow. And I don't think I think we only might have one other Thursday that I was there between this meeting and our last. And I don't have the sampling analysis plan for, I'm trying to think, Doleful and Mill Pond. I have Doleful finalized. Mill Pond is still working on finding where all the outfalls are for there. That one I should be able to finish up on Thursday. The due diligence review I haven't had a chance to get into yet. I shared that document. I wanted to confirm that you guys have capability of editing that document. It is on Google Docs.
What's the name of it again, Tim?
It should be something along the lines of due diligence review.
Lisa, are you there?
Yes,
Because you had an assignment. We assigned it to you when you weren't here last time, but I think you had said that you were okay to support that. Have you had any chance to look at it?
I have not.
Is that something you can help with?
I should be able to, sure.
Yay. Okay. So now you are officially tagged.
Yes.
So Tim, maybe, I don't know, did you send it to everyone in this group? And we can just go through our email?
I
And find our
believe
link.
so. It
I
limited
think
me
so,
to a certain amount of people that I could share it with. I
The
think
most
I
important
got
is
most
Lisa.
of you. Lisa should be on there. Lisa, if you have any trouble with editing or anything, please just shoot me an email and I'll see what I could do.
Okay.
And Tim, which ponds is that for?
So this would be for all of them,
Okay.
and it's more of a not just an individual water body due diligence review. It's more so a review of the watershed itself.
Excellent.
We have more people on this call now. So anything else, Tim, on the due diligence stuff?
Not on my end. Nope.
But I think we pretty much have to pick up the ball and run with this ourselves.
Yeah, I outlined. I've kind of got a template of what the information that they're looking for. I've added the template of that into the working document.
Jim, we're gonna ask this quite a number of times tonight, maybe. We're looking at a timeline for all of the activities, all of the processes and projects that we have going right now, with the target of a spring sampling for the DEP dredging permit.
Oh, that's
When
right.
do we need to contact them we won't be submitting the application until their test results come back. What, maybe early June, do you think?
Yep. So I'm trying to think. So the email that I got today I heard back from, I think it was Senator Eldridge's chief of staff, and she reached out to their DEP liaison. I can't remember. Sorry if I just sent that to you, John, or if I sent that to everybody.
That just came to me.
Okay, but the main takeaway from that was their DEP liaison mentioned that we get the test results back. We harvest and submit the sediment and plant tissue samples in mid-May. Takes about 4 weeks to get the test results back. Once we get the test results back, we could submit the application to DEP, and then DEP will do their best to accelerate the issuance of the permit and try to get it issued within a month of us submitting the application. So figure we submit the application in mid-June, they could try to get it to the permit issued to us mid-July.
Is that too late for spec ponds still?
We could still use harvesting.
You could still harvest for 2 weeks in July?
Sure. We did this past year, we did all of our eco harvesting in July at
August.
some point.
Yeah, it
Um,
was late.
August even,
Because of our permitting kerfuffle.
Right, with the landing turtle and everything else.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that was too late and we decided it wasn't really effective or worth
No,
doing.
no.
If we go the herbicide route though, don't we need to get RFPs in March, which is soon, like next month? The whole bid process going?
So, yep, that's, I think either way, the bid document needs to be put out in the spring. I'm gonna talk with Matt to see if there's a way to put it out there with a stipulation that it's contingent on DEP permits being obtained. That way, if we don't get the permit, we're not paying for no work to be done.
Well, it also has to be done in a flexible way so that, once we do the pre-treatment surveys, then we decide how much is gonna be done. So that's all variable.
Right, and I know we discussed that last year.
Yeah.
Changing up the structure of the scope of work to be bid on, to be
Right.
done at a rate instead of, you know,
Right,
us,
an amount.
right.
So can we refresh me? Cause if the eco harvesting doesn't get permitted, then we were thinking of doing herbicide treatment instead, right?
Yep, that's correct.
Depends.
At Forge and,
And it seems risky that that eco harvesting is gonna happen mid-July. Like if we get the permitting mid-July, that's super awesome, but
So,
there's no
We'd have
room
to have
for,
everything all lined up to have the work done
right.
without the permit in place.
Yeah.
And then at the last minute, say, we haven't got it.
And then it's so late in the season, like, should we
Precisely.
just, like, why are we trying to, I don't know, like,
right,
is that worth it for summer?
we really would want ours done like beginning of
Really?
June.
Really?
Yeah. So if
And,
mid-July, like,
we would be doing.
The whole thing is, we were talking about wrapping up at Spec Pond, everything else done ahead of that, so we could get earlier in the summer. And we
Yeah.
won't have the permit by then.
Right, and, Matawanaki, we would be doing, we're planning to do the herbicide treatments anyway, because we need to, use that funding by the end of June. So that was the plan there, was to do that in June.
so what should we be going out to bid for then in March? Herbicides and eco harvesting if the permitting comes through?
Yeah, I mean, I think the herbicide bids will, I think that's a pretty fast thing for them
Yeah.
to do.
But if we put out a bid, do we commit to saying we're gonna do this now? Or can we say, oh, never mind, we're doing eco harvesting instead?
It can be written such that, yeah, it's not guaranteed. And I don't think Solitude will care, right?
So Tim, what do you think?
Procurement is definitely not my area of expertise. I'm not sure the if and buts that we can put in the bid document.
So I don't think, it's pretty clear that we'll be doing it on Matawanaki.
Matawanaki for sure is herbicide.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for June, yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know if we want to do the eco harvesting.
And it's likely we'll do the same thing at Long Lake
Yeah,
If we need it.
if we need it. But, we'll do all the surveys and everything earlier in the spring or early in the summer.
Yeah.
Late in the spring to find out status of things.
do we bid out the surveys too is that just, contracted TRC?
So no, we have to, the threshold that, I think it's because it's under, I want to say it's, $30,000 or whatever it is, because I think it only, is it 10? We have to seek 3 quotes, and we take the
But it doesn't have to be bid.
No, there's no document that gets posted. We just have to ask for the same scope for all the quotes that we're asking.
Right.
It's pretty informal. Like we just sent emails, or I sent emails last year to a couple different companies, and we went with TRC because they were the lowest.
Do we know what the threshold is that allows that?
I think it's $10,000 if it's under 10,000. It might be 25, but I think it's 10.
Okay.
Well, they'll be like $5,000 fees.
Yeah, well, each one of them is under 10,
Yeah.
right, for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
We'll slash it anyway we need to.
But then I guess since we can't do herbicide on Spec Pond, if we got a permit in middle July, would you be excited to
We could do some harvesting.
do
Yeah.
some harvesting?
There's some restrictive periods of the summer because of the natural heritage endangered species setback. 50
Right.
feet. But I think if we could get it in July, that would probably be the sweet spot for any kind of harvesting.
And you think we could line up an eco harvester without really knowing if we're gonna have the permit in place?
This is the discussion with C&D, the sole source vendor.
Yeah, do you guys wanna
That we're going to
commit
have
and
to
then
have.
we'll just release you from your commitment?
I think we have to have some sort of come to Jesus meeting with them
Shoot.
to explain our situation.
And the
Yeah,
DEP.
Yeah, the bind that we're in
This
and,
is what I'm finding, we're getting pushback from, on different committees. It happened, last
Yes.
night, at Park and Rec.
Yeah.
They're upset that we don't know much until we know it.
yeah,
But guess what?
I guess
You know,
that's-
see what's
yeah.
growing.
Yeah, I mean, we're on Madawaska, we're also thinking of doing some dash. I've talked to C&D about they'd be coming and doing some dash this summer, so I mean, they might be willing to come and do both, right?
So we should kind of be moving ahead with everything.
If they, that's
That's the answer.
that's the crux of the matter right now,
Yeah.
is just that. And so we need to prioritize things
Yeah.
in terms of what has to get done before spring, what has to get
Right.
done like immediately, what has to get done before August, what has to get, you know, and this is where we're all gonna have to take on the responsibility.
yeah, in my opinion, the policy should be to presume success. And then have a rollback plan.
It's incredibly
If the
optimistic.
spaghetti hits
We were-
the fan, you
We were,
know.
we were talking up until this meeting, that this, permit will not be issued until perhaps October. And, you know, which wouldn't be surprising,
No,
you know, labs get backed up and the process may indeed take months and months for some reason.
Mass DEP layoffs. I
And
don't know.
yeah, you know, it's
Right.
a risky,
Well,
So what do you think about the presumed success policy?
I don't think if we get the go-ahead in July,
Yeah,
that it's gonna be worth doing next year. We'll, I mean, if we pursue with the monies that you have right now, outstanding in FY 25.
yes,
We pursue,
Management
the
plan.
management plan,
yes.
and refresh that if we feel that's worth doing.
Mhm.
I think that's, it's gonna be difficult to deal with the situation at Spec Pond, because we won't be able to do anything this
Yeah.
summer.
I would like to bet on success, basically, to essentially reiterate the presumed success.
Yeah.
It's only one lake. I mean, if the other lakes, well, no, I mean,
Just one.
well, no, but the other lakes,
One
we can
LWD
plan
one,
on
what-
doing herbicide, right? So that will be our sure plan, is that we're. you
Yeah, we
know,
have something that.
And it
can-
would just be Spec Pond for eco harvesting this summer, and if it falls through,
Yes.
it's a bummer, but it's, the other lakes will have a plan.
I guess that's the way we should go. And yet you'd be ready to do the herbicide, or do the eco harvesting.
Yeah.
Earlier than we're gonna get the permit.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, we could do something in June, but it's, yeah, we'll have to permit by then.
I mean, it's not clear to me what, I mean, there's like 2 or 3 other steps before we submit the permit request after
Dredging
we
permit.
get the,
Yeah, Tim, what are those benchmarks we're working towards right now? We have to submit something before we have our
Meeting.
Zoom meeting with Dr. Wong.
pre-consultation.
Yes, so we have to, once I have the sampling analysis plan done for Mill Pond, that'll be all, that's the sampling analysis plan for all the lakes will be done. And the only other thing that we need to submit is the due diligence review. And then we can have our pre-consultation meeting with DEP.
Okay, so the DDR has to be complete before we have the Zoom meeting.
Yes, it has to be completed and submitted, yes.
And we would be wise to have that done in March, in April, sooner?
In February?
I would say,
Don't say February.
I mean, yeah, March would probably be best. It's sooner rather, we don't want to get behind on our timeline.
And what do we learn as a result of the Zoom meeting with David Wong?
What do you mean? Like anything?
Well, we're submitting the sampling analysis
And the due diligence.
and the due diligence.
Right. I
the preparations that you've made for each lake, and then the due diligence, review, and then he's gonna maybe say, oh, you need to flesh out some more information or whatever.
that's my thought, is that they'll take that time during that meeting to go over the SAP and DDR if they have any
Okay, so we-
questions or any requests
Like a
for
review
amendments.
period, and then we'll have the final document for the application after the testing has been done, at outfalls and sampling of debris and what have you. All right. And then we'll have a question and answer period too, where we can find out more.
Right.
I'm still interested with the idea, or interested about the idea of literally dredging, in a couple of instances, or having that option if it's a dredging permit. For example, we brought it up with Parks and Rec last night that, we might be able to dredge some of the old sand, that has leached into the swim area.
Past the swim area.
And well, yeah, and get that out of there as they continue to add sand from time to time. You know, why not take advantage of actually having a dredging permit?
Yeah, I'm not sure they would be able to, so I think they're able to kind of expedite the process of issuing this permit in a month after they get the application, because it's not the typical
Not
sediment
really dredging.
dredging project.
So I think, yeah, we'd be
Right.
submitting the permit for doing the eco harvesting, and then it has to be the dredging permit, so we'd be, there's a lot of it that would be like not applicable in our case.
Exactly. There would be other things that, so David Wong sent me a list of things that are typically included in the due diligence reviews, and I kind of refined that down to what's applicable to our project, and sifted out the things that are specifically removing sediment. Our due diligence review would have to be, expanded on, and I think they would probably take closer to the 4 months that David said it typically takes to issue the permit if we were to include explicitly sediment dredging.
Yeah, no, it's upsetting because, well, as we said last month, we have a situation where we have outfalls. And I know at least at Long Lake, it would be wonderful to be able to dredge some of that material. It's material we as a community are putting into the lake, and shouldn't, but of course do.
I also think it's one thing if we're requesting to dredge sediment in a targeted area. It's a totally another thing if we're requesting just blanket approval to dredge a certain amount really anywhere across the water body that we'd like.
No, I think it would definitely be a specific area.
Okay.
That would be, yeah, I would think that would be, really important, crucial.
So we had talked about trying to combine this just to save time or like save effort, right? Like one permit for all of these things.
Yeah.
But
if for this year,
he said do it once for all of them.
right, but we're still trying to, it's gonna take 4 months if we're doing a full dredging permit, he says, like where we're actually removing sediment.
Yeah,
If we want to get Spectacle Pond done this summer, we don't want to introduce that, right? We want Spectacle Pond to get the fast track so that we can do this.
Well,
But the other two lakes, if we're not dredging them until next summer anyways, because we're not doing eco harvesting this year, and those are the lakes that dredging would happen. I don't know, maybe we
do this in a phased approach.
Yeah, maybe we just do a dredging permit for Spec Pond for this year, and like, I don't know, I'm just trying to think a little
well,
creatively.
we could submit them bing, do the one for Spectacle Pond for just eco harvesting, and for the other two, we'd piggyback on top of it. Same thing, except the places where it was NA before, in some cases we'd have.
Well,
But
let me ask you both, do you ever see or foresee a time at Manawanaki or at Spec Pond where you'd be interested in removing some material?
I think that would be an ideal solution, is to remove, but
Well, you have sandbars that you want to get rid of, and
The boat
I
ramp.
couldn't take that out last time, but I don't know how feasible it is to actually do it, right? I think that would be a good solution to a lot of the, get that, you've got
Yeah.
several feet of organics and it's, that's where if you got it back down to the original lake bottom, these
Yeah,
plants.
that's overly optimistic, but I'm saying
No,
at an outfall or at, I just,
Yeah, so I mean, I think it'd be ideal, but I can't see it being all that practical.
Yeah.
I mean, you're certainly not gonna be able to do the lake, right? The whole lake.
Right.
no, you wouldn't, no, it would cost $2 million, $3 million for something just for starts. 6 or 7 or 8 or 10
Right,
million
how much
dollars,
was
but,
Mill
yeah,
Pond gonna be?
yeah,
For
but,
Spec Pond, though, dredging the boat ramp, wouldn't that be part of like an engineering study that, or all that?
You probably would want to have that done. There's a significant channel, several hundred, feet.
So that's like, it's whole nother project,
Yeah,
potentially, yeah.
Saul has his hand raised.
Oh, so I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
You
Saul.
got it, Saul?
Hey, good evening. No, I was gonna sort of raise a similar point of, given the timing of the, harvesting at Long Lake and the others, is there a way to amend the the application or split them? And I think you guys have already started talking about that. So it's kind of
Yeah, no, it just keeps getting.
It gets
more complicated.
There's no easy button is the challenge, so like keep what are our priorities and,
Well,
um,
yeah, I still revert back at this point because it's a new conversation tonight. I mean, the actual possibility of securing a permit for dredging this summer
right,
is brand new. And I think overly optimistic. I mean, looking at the delays we've experienced, every single year we've tried to do the right thing. 3 years running now at Spec Pond, 2 years running at Manawanaki and Long Lake, only to be frustrated by the schedule and saying, well, we got the permit, but we can't really do it until
The
like
first
the
year at
middle of
Spec
August.
Pond was pretty
again.
successful.
So,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, the disappointment at the end of last season was, it's really, it was hardly worth doing. We left a lot behind. We didn't get to take enough. Things were falling apart. We weren't extracting plants. We were extracting parts of plants, which just led to the proliferation of more plants. So,
so does mid-July feel too late if success happens?
that should be a sweet spot for the two of the invasives.
Yeah.
The third invasive, comes on, early May, June.
Yeah.
And that's out of the question. We're not gonna.
Yeah, okay.
right.
I don't know, I think we should go for it, but the question would be, Tim, you have looked at these applications, like, should we be going for full eco harvesting dredging permits, knowing that we're only gonna harvest at one lake this summer? The other two would be deferred until next summer. And then, as Saul said, like add on a full dredging so we could do the beach at Long Lake or something next summer.
One of the questions is how specific does your permit request have to be if you're doing actual dredging?
He said it's different. You were out of the room when Tim was saying.
But I mean, do you have to say it's gonna be this area, this area, this area?
Yes, so with the aquatic invasive plants, I think they're more willing to give just a blanket approval of, okay, anywhere within these depths along the shoreline where aquatic plants grow, you can remove the invasives up to this amount. I think with sediment, they're looking for specific areas to be designated.
Right.
Do we have to like do an engineering study and be very precise, like, or can it be sort of vague, the beach area?
I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it because that hasn't really been the focus when I've been looking at the application.
There is also a need to
specific.
So there's also a need to do some renovation of the ramp at Long Lake because it's no longer completely functional. You can't get in deep enough to actually get a boat in the water. So that's kind
It's
of
so shallow. Yeah.
I don't think you ever could, right?
Well, it's been difficult. But a few years back when we had the
Only
water
20
level
horsepower.
higher, it was easier. But
No, but I even took a rowboat there once.
Yeah.
And I backed up for miles and
Yeah.
it seemed like we barely could put it in,
yeah, no, it's a
Well,
it's a very shallow launch.
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
and yeah, very shallow.
So Cammy, to answer your question personally, I think
Yeah.
it makes the most sense to submit an application for removing the aquatic invasives for all the water bodies this year.
Yeah.
And maybe next year, get one for the dredging sediments for whatever ones you want, whether it's all the water bodies or just, one or two. Just
I think that makes sense. I mean, we don't have a specific plan for actually doing dredging now, so.
No,
Yeah.
it's just exercising the option sometime in the future.
But we'd have to be
Certainly
specific.
use it on Long Lake at the town beach. There's no doubt about it. That's just the one big obvious, hey, over here, if it's a dredging permit, why don't we use one? But it doesn't make sense to break things up, or it certainly doesn't streamline things for us. To look at spec bond solo this year, and everything else can drag you. I don't know.
Are there fees that we have to pay with the permits?
Yeah, maybe not since we're a municipality.
I don't know if we're exempt or not.
Oh, the town fees are exempt, but not the state fees. You still have to pay the state fees.
Do we have any idea how much that is gonna be?
I don't think
They're like $400.
Hundreds.
Okay, so it's not like we're saving millions of dollars if we do one permitting process and drag it out, or if we have to go back and do this again next year to get full dredging.
Or at some point in time in the future.
All right,
But Tim, can I ask you, do you think we need a dredging permit to do Dash?
Yes, I would assume so.
So then we should include Dash as well as eco harvesting in the permit request.
didn't last meeting, we said Dash
Yeah.
didn't need it because it's putting
Returns-
the dirt back
returns
in,
to the-
or was that your wishful
Wait,
thinking?
that sounds right, Cammy. I think you are right.
So Dash isn't dredging, and you don't need a dredging permit.
Right. Somebody confirmed that. I can't remember who it was. It was somebody I had a meeting with.
Did you take notes on that?
I
Was it Dave Wong?
we can go back and look at the last meeting. I'm sure we definitely discussed it.
Yeah, if we had minutes, we would.
But did we
We have
write that
notes.
one down? I remember that being said.
No, I mean, did you have any notes from your discussion?
I can't even remember which individual, or I can't remember which individual that discussion was with. Any of the notes that I have, I usually put in the summary that I pass on to you guys, whether it's through email or update at the next meeting.
Okay, but I guess as a fail-safe, we could include it in the permit request.
The dash you're talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, why not? They can't hurt.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So the testing that we have to have, you're not looking at testing now till at least mid-April to May, because we have so much ice out there. You're going to April with the ice before you get ice out now.
So we talked,
They're talking mid-May for testing.
I'm just saying, so
we suggested doing the
I know we couldn't. do it,
sampling in the fall
We could,
when the plants were all there, but they said, no, you have to
No.
wait until
they're healthy,
things are, just up.
blooming,
Yeah.
healthy.
Okay, so we
I think we
have a
should
plan. I
concentrate-
think we've made a
I think
decision.
we should concentrate on a couple things. I'm sitting here listening, we keep going back and forth, back and forth. I think we should concentrate on herbicides, okay? And see if we could do something. Those are the only three things we should concentrate
Yep.
right now and work all our efforts on.
Yep.
And then we still can put our efforts towards dredging, but don't expect that till next year.
I agree.
So the two things we need to do for herbicides are, I need to get permits for Mattawanaki for the herbicide.
Okay,
And we need to get the bid out to do the work.
okay, so that's one. then John has to do the same thing for his lake, right?
They've got
I-
permits.
Oh, you've already got
for
permits for
herbicide.
that?
I think we have permits for dredge, or for herbicides, but we don't have funding for herbicides. So.
I thought you had a little money left, no?
Well, we have money, but it's for eco harvesting.
This is from CPC.
And this is
okay.
CPC money, so I'll have to go back to CPC and see if it would
Change
be
the
allowed
line.
under the circumstances that
Yeah.
we're applying for this dredging permit. And it
Uh-huh.
won't be here until after the season,
Right,
that we could do a season of herbicide treatment with the monies that they've already allocated.
so we
Especially
just,
because we didn't do any herbicide, we didn't do any,
I
eco harvesting last year. We still
then-
have all the money.
and then we go to May,
Yeah.
we wait till May, get the testing done, okay?
Yeah.
And then, boom, we see what we can do. If
Yep.
it's a miracle, it's a miracle.
Yep.
So there's three things we have to do. Other than that, the wish and the prayer.
Well, we need to continue with the.
We need to continue, but I'm just saying, I think we need to focus on those three things
Yep.
before we hit the ground running in spring.
Well, yeah, except Spec Pond would be happy to do their eco harvesting in July if it could get approved by then. And so we need to keep moving with the.
That's what he's saying. Yeah,
Okay.
he just said that. Yeah, he's on with that. Yep.
I'm saying there's
So
three
we've got,
things.
Yep.
we got a dozen things going on.
Right,
And so if those are the top three things we have to do, that's clear. That's a definite direction. Who do we reach out to do herbicide treatment? Solitude?
That would be another one that we would have to put out for an
bid.
IFP. Yep, so we wouldn't reach out to anybody. They would, I mean, we could let people know that we have a bid or document out for bid, but it would be people bidding on it, not us seeking out quotes, because I'm assuming that would come over that would come in over the threshold.
The unknown threshold.
Well, it'll be less expensive than eco harvesting, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Um, So we gotta do the plant sampling. We get 3 quotes on that, and that has to go down before any of this does at all anyway, right? We do the plant sampling, at 3 lakes, well, maybe 4, Opal Pond. In what, April?
Soon as the ice is out, as soon as the plants are
as
out.
soon as they say that we can.
Yeah.
Because they might say it was a long ice out, right? The plants aren't really
Up yet.
up yet. We wanna wait till they're up till middle of May.
April, May.
Are you saying Mass DEP plant sampling or our surveys that we also?
Oh, no, this is
Plant sampling,
this is for
sediments.
herbicide treatment. This is for our
Oh.
analysis of what happening in each lake.
Oh,
So that, all right, we have herbicides in 2 places, we have potential, when
Okay.
you'll need a plant survey just in case, you get your permits to do the eco harvesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
So this is the regular TRC.
this would be the TRC stuff.
we should do that in May.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
May.
Mayish sounds better. Yeah.
All right, and then how early do we have to contact or reach out for, 3 quotes? Like sometime in March
The herbicide, for the surveys?
to do the surveys.
I'd say March would probably be best.
All right,
I say the quicker you get to somebody, the quicker someone's gonna come out and do it.
good.
I mean, we sit around here talking about it for 3 more months. They ain't coming out till July,
Yep.
okay?
Why we're talking about it tonight, Chuck.
All right, I'm just trying to like.
No, it's great.
That'd be June.
No, go ahead. Venture spleen. Go ahead.
No.
Just-
It's good. I'm glad you're wading in on the conversation. All
I'm just trying to clean it up.
Yeah.
right, right
Clean
now
Lakes
it's in our
Committee,
lap,
we
man.
do the
It's,
cleaning.
It's never been in our lap before. This is brand new. You might have heard all these conversations every single month you've been here, but this is new. We haven't done this.
Who
So,
gathers the quotes? Is that you, Tim, or is that someone else?
In
If it gets done in the next 2 weeks,
yeah, if that's exactly where I was going, Dave.
Nick will do it.
this would be our liaison.
Yeah, I mean,
Whoever's pulling that title.
So the water department would do it. Somebody at the
That's-
water.
that's not something too difficult. I mean, really all they're looking for is last year's survey results, and they can usually provide a quote just based off of that.
Yeah.
So this is, Josh, I think you said last meeting, Josh would probably handle the IFB.
I
Invitation.
believe so. That was gonna be, that was one of the things I was gonna confirm when
Yeah.
when talking with Matt and Nick about what they're willing to take on in perpetuity for Clean Lake.
Yes, okay, yeah.
And then the RFP for the herbicides would be done by whom?
My
That's
understanding that
another-
was that the water department was gonna continue doing that.
Yeah, so Josh
So,
was a liaison, sub liaison, but he will,
So that's Mark.
he's gonna confirm that.
so Tim, you're going to confirm with Nick that they're going to provide support for doing those, the quotes and the RFP
Yep.
and the timeline that Clean Lakes is requesting.
It might, I'm trying to think. I don't know if they'll have a problem with. Yeah, I'll confirm all that stuff.
Tim, tell me this.
I'm not even gonna try to speculate what they will and won't commit to.
So I just think we need to say who's doing it, and if they're
Yeah.
not, then come back and say they won't do it, and we need to assign you.
Right.
I know your boss.
Tim, this is going back a few years to the last time we did herbicides. But as I recall, we had Solitude came out and did an examination of each lake.
Like
So
an
we didn't really
assessment.
need a survey. They would do an assessment, they'd report back to us and say, here's an outcropping of fanwort, you got your, you know, there's so many acres of this, so, and here's our proposal.
Yeah, the issue was brought up, do we trust Solitude to do a survey and then do the treatment?
That almost sounds like a conflict of interest.
Yeah,
Well, we had done
And
that
we
in
had
the
done that in the
past,
past, and it was fine.
and we always played it off against the two firms that ultimately became
Problem
Solitude.
is, Solitude was the only game in town that was reliable, decent
Yeah.
price.
I think they kind of still are only, I think there's, so I was
They're gonna-
talking with another conservation professional a couple weeks ago. I think it was Air, and they were struggling to even find 3 companies in Massachusetts that
To get a quote.
just to ask for quotes, yeah, for herbicide treatment. There's Solitude, there's one other one I can't think of. It's not C&D underwater, water and wetland, and those are the only 2. People have to start reaching out of state at that
Sure.
point.
Make a note that if we ever bump into All Habitat,
From Connecticut?
don't engage them for anything ever
Bad experience.
again.
Yeah. Well, then, all I'm saying is that we wouldn't need the plant surveys. A third party, if
Yeah.
we went with Solitude to do our herbicide treatments.
Yep.
This season. So who's,
Who's
Saul?
Saul, yeah.
I thought you were live, so.
What's that?
We thought you were live. Your hand is up?
Oh, sorry. No, it wasn't intended to be.
That
Right,
was
all right.
from before,
All
I
right.
think.
Every now and again, we look at the screen.
All right, so where are we at with the dredging stuff?
Well, I mean, I think, we were talking about whether we actually need a separate plan survey.
Right.
I don't think there'd be, for Mattawamkeag, I don't think there'd be much difference at all between TRC's estimation and Solitude's.
Yeah, I don't see that there'll be, well, and this is the way we used to do things.
Yeah.
And we would just switch off from time to time, you know. You guys are gonna do Long Lake this year.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to split
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we know where our plants are, so I mean,
Yeah.
if they say, oh, and if it looks to us like it's, I mean, whatever they come up with, if it's something looks strange, we'll go out and look.
Sure.
And if it's right, then that's fine, it's
Yeah,
right.
no, I
If it's
don't- I
not, we'll
don't-
say, no, don't do that,
I
just do
really
this.
wouldn't think that that's gonna be a conflict of interest thing. I mean, they need to know where they're going in the first place.
Well, I mean,
Well,
the
it's,
conflict would be they might try and do more than they need to, but we can look and see.
Yeah, but being the only game in town, we'd like to have repeat business and, you know, you'd
Mhm.
like to think that.
I don't think it'll be a problem for them to do it.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, maybe that lessens the load a little bit.
So could we just list finally, for this year's work, we must, permits are in hand for Long Lake, shifting the funds around is required. And
For herbicides. Mhm.
and then a permit for spectacle pond harvesting is needed.
Well, we need to get the dredging permit for all 3 lakes,
Okay,
for all 4 lakes.
Well, you don't need it this year if you're doing the herbicides.
Well,
we need to have it for the future.
Spectacle Pond would like to do it in July if we
Well,
can get it by then.
yeah,
So-
I guess we talked about this tonight as being like splitting the work.
No,
We're not gonna,
not doing it.
No.
Cammy advocated for our approach to the application process that it be focused on aquatic invasives, including Dash this year and another application for dredging in the future.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
full dredging, yeah.
For this year, we must get a permit for a dredge permit for spectacle pond harvesting and what else?
Spec Pond, Long Lake, Lake Matawanaki and Dolphin.
So we're gonna do the permitting, the dredging permit, so next year we could do eco harvesting. On
Okay.
all the lakes.
Let's just say,
Yeah,
Or,
that
and
makes it
ideally
easier,
Spectacle
yeah.
Pond this summer if it comes.
Cause there's no timeline, it doesn't,
Okay.
once we have the permit, we have the permit for
3 years, I think, right?
3 years, yeah,
Well, it can be renewed.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
But 3 years usually.
yeah.
but specifically therefore, how many lakes? I'll just put it down as a
All
number.
4.
4?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So just not Mill Pond.
Right,
Sorry, Mill Pond.
not Fort Pond.
Maybe Mill Pond will come around for the next herbicide thing.
A lot of herbicide.
Okay,
It'll just flush, it'll just end up downstream.
Yeah.
Anything
Just
that
pull the
dies.
plug
is
and
just
let it
gonna
flush
go
out
over.
and then, anyway, okay.
Which is, yes.
Okay. Engineering for the, boat launch at Spec Pond.
Yeah.
We haven't
that's
got a
it. Do
hard
we need anything
schedule
else?
on
Do
that.
we need Tim for anything else?
Oh, well, yeah, we need Tim for all of this,
Oh, okay,
for input. It doesn't have to happen this year, but it would be great to get going on it.
Yes.
The thing that I'm wrestling with is the number of things that we have in the pipeline.
Mhm.
That we haven't gotten to in a while. We got the Mill Pond, path redesign, and
Yeah.
we need to do some engineering drawings for that now. For a permit at Conscom. And we have time running out on our, 3-year, CPC, funding allocation. But I just wanted to kind of get how you feel about the,
I think it's going to be easy to cut an IFB for the engineering study.
okay,
And it's kind of disjoint from everything else.
okay,
But we should be able to push that through. It's just another IFB that Josh or whomever will have to.
and do we need quotes on this? Do we need
We got a quote
competition on
of
this?
30,000.
Okay,
Yes,
and that's
this was from TRC.
TRC,
Yes.
okay, and we can go with TRC, we don't have to get competitive bids and go with a low bid or.
Oh, I don't know. Somebody needs to tell me whether we need to
That's
submit that.
why I'm
Yeah.
bringing this up. Tim, do you know if we're looking for an engineering plan for the new boat launch at Spec Pond? We need to shop that out.
I mean,
$30,000, I would say yes.
it's all dependent on how much it's gonna cost and if it's gonna exceed that.
Cost at least 30,000.
It's in the 30,000
Yeah.
range.
I would assume if it's that expensive, at least
Okay.
30,000, then yeah, I would say it probably needs to be put out as an IFB.
Okay, in the,
Sean, could I
Yeah.
just check about our agenda? What item are we on right now?
we're digging deep here. We're pumping everything that we can get out of Tim.
This is other.
Before he
What's
crumbles.
in the other guy?
Okay.
This is reviewing.
But it's
All
not
our
on,
projects.
it's not on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda. 2 weeks. This is working with Tim.
Is this DLC
Tim's
budget?
Last input here.
New select board
No.
funding?
no,
Okay, let's put it under other business. Can you identify what
Works-
it is
works
we're
is
talking
Boat
about?
ramp for Spectral Pond. It's an engineering study for it, design.
So anyway, I was wondering, when we did, for example, the Long Lake Restoration Project 20 years ago, I think we interviewed 3 engineering firms. And whatever we got a good vibe from, we went with. It was Geocintic at the time. At this point in time, is that no longer possible? Do we not do that? Do we have to go with a low bid?
I think you have to go with the lowest bid unless there's like a rock solid reason why you shouldn't. I'm not sure. It's definitely not like procurement is.
I can put some input in here.
Because this is a
If-
municipal project?
If it's something that is cut and dry, and you say, here's what needs to be done, and it's pretty clear that anybody that is competent would be doing it, it would be
A bid.
invitation for bids, and then you have to go with the lowest price, lowest cost. As long as
I would say this doesn't pertain to that.
if there's something where an argument can be
Design-
made
design
that
involved, there could be 3 different solutions for all.
if there's a case to be made where the competency with the specific skills that wouldn't be necessarily provided by just anybody, you can make the case that there are other criteria besides price, and you can do your assessment based on other criteria as well, which have to be identified. But those, and then that would be an RFP, but it would still be bid.
I think at $30,000, you're gonna have a hard sell for it, because that pretty much means if you go by standard practice, that means it's a $300,000 boat ramp to put in.
Mhm.
So that's gonna be a hard sell.
What's 300,000?
So typically, whenever you're building any construction project, it's about 10% for the design work. And so that's a $300,000 boat ramp.
So maybe it won't cost 30,000. That's what you're saying.
Let's forget it, I'll do it.
If it's costing 30, yeah.
I got shovels, I got picks.
Like the problem at that boat ramp, are you familiar with it? It's really steep. Yeah. So that's.
So we could
the-
get quotes and see if the quotes come under 10,000, then we're good. If they come in over that, then we have to bid it out.
We can figure out what the rules are for you. I can help with that if you need help. Or Karen can, I'm sure.
Yeah, that would save time if we, did you get that?
What do you think the total project cost target should be?
100,000.
What do you think you can get through town meeting?
Arbitrary number. Well, I'm thinking, well, we might as well set a benchmark for it,
Well-
because it does determine what our strategy is.
Well, no, we were saying that you could get quotes. And if the quotes come in under 10,000, then you're good. You can just use the quotes. If they come in over that, then you'd have to bid it.
Well, I think what Mitt's saying, and I kind of agree with this, how much do you think is a reasonable amount for the town to pay to put in a boat ramp? Forgetting how much it costs for the engineering.
And the boat ramp is for
Spec pond.
Spec Pond.
Thanks, Bob.
How long is it gonna last?
How
And Chuck,
much
we already have CPC money for that. Well, not quite. Got to get signed off at town meeting.
Right.
What did I say it cost me?
That's what I'm saying, Chuck. We
Cost
can
me-
do this.
We had engineers.
Well, but you had a lot of,
On Long Lake, okay,
Yeah.
not Long, on Forge Pond,
we had a lot of in-kind services.
right,
Yes, you
we
did.
got a boat ramp put in. So the engineering cost us around 5,000 to 6,000, but we kind of had the wrong engineers and it took them a little bit more than it should have, okay? So if you have the right engineers, you're only looking at $5,000 or $6,000 tops. Then in kind, well, the parts and pieces, basically, no labor or machinery or anything, cost about 10 grand. For the slats and
The
the
materials, yeah.
material, the machines, everything. So
Well,
was
machines
like-
were donated.
machines were donated, labor was donated,
Mhm.
and we did it in, one day.
That's because you guys are amazing.
And the heavens parted and.
That's because I was there. I went like this.
And Chuck walked on the water briefly.
Who was donating all that stuff? You,
Neighbors.
neighbors? Yeah. the
All
neighbors.
my contacts,
That's it.
all my contacts that use the boat ramp.
Half the people on the lake are excavators.
Okay, when should we initiate the spec pond management plan,
I would say 30 grand.
The request for that,
the request for that?
I would say that's
I
as
think
soon
you
as
can get
possible.
that through town meeting.
I would say.
Cause we got a deadline on that
Funding.
with the monies that we have left
5,000.
over.
We gotta spend by July 1, so yeah.
And how about 30?
Did you
grand,
see the examples I sent?
You know,
Oh, I didn't know, I didn't study your examples, yeah.
Okay,
I sent out, yeah, thanks for doing that background check.
Well, again, I'm wondering if we need that, but
but then.
Well, I sent out the extensive management plan that was done
Yes.
25 years ago. I don't know if you guys had a chance to take a look at that. And that's what we would be
Because we're
shooting for.
working for a town.
well, I mean, yeah, we're gonna have to bid it out, so we need to have some specs in the bid.
Yeah.
But you
Right?
can get through
Yeah.
15.
You just-
Back to Mark's question though, about how much we would want to pay for a boat ramp. I think that's a reasonable question to try
I
to
think you're
answer.
talking 50, 60. If
50,
you
I
have
was
to
gonna
do-
say 50
If you have
grand.
to do,
I would be okay with it town meeting and that would.
prevailing wage. I'd say 30 if you just tied it outright. Regular guys, regular guys. But if we have to do prevailing wages are huge.
oh, I don't know why we'd have to do prevailing wage.
Because
For town-
it's a town
Town's paying for it.
contract.
So I have to do work for a lot of towns,
All right.
in the city area, right?
Right.
For Cataldo, and he has to say prevailing wages. One guy is $85 an hour, the other guy's $55 an hour.
Yeah.
That's just the hourly rate.
Well, and at Spec Pond, we might need to do some paving because it's so steep,
Yeah.
Yeah,
which we didn't have to do.
no, we
Yeah.
didn't have to do that.
And were you able to use volunteers because it was the Mattawanakee neighborhood?
Oh, you had.
Towns
you
really
had
couldn't do that
guys,
though. We could
equipment, you
have
had-
like
yeah.
residents just pitch in or something like that,
Wait a minute,
Maybe,
maybe,
maybe.
but,
because Mitt's ready to do it.
I was gonna say, drag all your volunteers over the equipment and, give me a price. Yeah. Might have to, we can maybe do it out of petty cash, Spec
Yeah.
Pond Association petty cash.
All right, 75K, given how complicated it is.
Leon will get a keg,
Yeah.
make it worth their while.
And then everyone can put their boats in the water and paddle over to Leon's house for a keg party.
That can work for me.
Or a kegger.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just put that in there and with the question mark. So we have a
About
benchmark
coming over
for
to
the
Leon's
future.
house? Don't
We
put that
can
in.
laugh about it
Keg
later.
party.
No, the dollar figure. We can
Okay.
laugh
I have a-
about
What'd you
it.
put down, 75K?
Yeah.
Okay,
All right, Tim, how do we initiate the request for bids for the spec pond management plan? We have to spend the money by
End of
July.
June.
Well, by the end of June.
How do you initiate? What do you mean? Like come up with
Well-
a scope of work?
What, we need,
Yeah,
we need 3 bids on,
no, we just need to bid it out.
we need to bid it out.
Yeah, well, what
Cause
are
it's 60,000.
We need to update the plan that's 24 years old, whatever it is.
Yeah.
We would submit that as an example, as a format.
Yes.
As a
Yeah.
desirable result.
Yeah.
You know, it's there. That's it, but it's old.
In
now.
fact, Carl Nelson did the plan.
Sure,
He
Yeah.
may do the TRC plan now. so-
right.
Yeah, anyway.
Are there things, aspects that we want reviewed and, considered as options that weren't part of the last plan?
He was pretty thorough,
It was.
including bathymetric, sedimentation, pollution, nutrients. Yeah, it was a comprehensive
It's
plan.
great. Yeah, they
Yeah.
really looked at the watershed and,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
nice assessment.
Yeah.
So this sounds like another RFP that you're gonna get, NICTA, right?
Well, I mean, what they're saying is maybe the RFP could be just pointing to the last one and say, we want an update of this.
Yeah, but you still have to, someone's gotta put.
Somebody has to put the bid together, yes. Yeah, you're right, yeah. The water department. Yeah, it's their money,
Cause it's spec pond.
yeah,
Is the lake management plan just gonna be for spec pond?
yes,
This
All-
one's not
all we can
comprehensive.
do
across-
right now.
Yeah, okay.
right.
I mean, ultimately, we want something for everybody we're
Yep.
dealing with.
Each one's separate.
But yeah, that's, oh, and Tim?
Yep.
Last item on my list is the path at Mill Pond. And I know you say we need engineering drawings, or we need an engineer to weigh in. It's probably gonna cost $4,000 or $5,000.
Right.
Do we have an engineer we can contact, get that going, so it could be a spring job or a fall job at this point? I don't even care, but.
No, because we need the stormwater calculations to be done by an engineer. That was the only thing that was holding us up from submitting a notice of intent to conservation.
What do stormwater, what is that?
It's for the increased, I mean, it's
So the runoff from the
out for
path,
impervious surfaces, even though it's a pervious paver path.
Uh-huh.
They need to see stormwater calculations. The state requires it. And so I don't think Nick or anybody over there was going to be able to sign off on that. So we'd have to reach out again to seek quotes on somebody that can, I guess, put together the whole notice of intent at that point, with their design. And I think I did the math out, and with the quote that we had from Littleton Earthworks, it didn't include doing a whole survey and design. And so I think the cost would come in over the amount of CPC money we have allotted towards that project.
Right, 20 grand.
Yep.
How does that work with a CPC? Yeah. Do we come back and say, we're out of money?
So, you know, it's crazy, is I know Littleton Earthworks, I do work for them. And, they're a little on the high side. You know, my son-in-law just did the path for the, Long Lake Beach from A to B. And he was really he was, a very good price. So maybe we don't just go with Littleton Earthworks, maybe we check around.
Yeah, I did in the beginning, and Earthworks was the one who came in the lowest out of just the ones that I reached out to.
Okay. Well,
Um,
maybe you're looking in the yellow pages, and sometimes those yellow pages ads are the expensive ones.
yeah, and I thought we were going to be able to get away with this without having because
Right.
initially when we asked for quotes, they came in super high because we were asking for a whole design and the construction. And we thought, all right, we know what we want, we know where it's going to go, and we know what needs to be done. Maybe we could just, reach out to somebody and say, here's what we're looking to have done. How much is the construction going to cost? And turns out we can't do that because we need those stormwater calculations. So we need
All
to
right.
have a design.
I'm just letting you know.
Okay, is this something we can act on this month? Or is this getting?
I don't
Oh,
think so.
You do the same too.
I don't think you do the design at all.
And John, I talked with Matt about this. I think it makes most sense breaking this up into phases. Putting phase one, seeking somebody to put together a design for this thing and put together a notice of intent to get through conservation. Once that's done, seeking quotes and contracting somebody else out to do the construction of it. I think
Okay.
that's where we're going to get I think that's also going to allow us to get it done for the cheapest amount rather than asking for it to all be done by somebody. Because when I initially asked for quotes, there was one company that said they can do a design and the construction, but they came back super high. I think it was around like
Yeah, I remember that, 40
$50,000
grand.
or something.
That's because what happens there is they say they can do it all. So they're hiring another company out to do that
Yeah.
for them, okay?
Yeah.
And then they're gonna put a number on top of that, so they make that money on top of that engineer.
Right.
That's why they're so high.
Yeah.
Known fact with builders and us, you know, what we do.
It's called margin.
Yeah, no, everybody's entitled to their slice.
So if you can be the builder, or if we could be the builder, say, right? And we hire the contractors out, it's a lot better than trying to go for the all one.
Right, and that's why I think it makes most sense to do it in phases, to contract one for
Right.
the design and two for the
I agree.
Okay, so how do we move forward on the design?
we
So you have
would-
You have CPC money for the construction,
We have CPC money for the project.
right, well, my question is if you picked a small number for design, I don't know what the design would cost if you had enough, like, is it 3,000, 5,000, something that you went back to CPC and said, we have enough for construction, but we need this permit, you know, this design, if that makes more sense and leave the existing.
We'd probably have to do it the other way around.
I
We'd
was
probably have to
thinking that.
design it and then find out how much it costs.
You already know how much it costs, right? You already have a bid in hand that you know how much it costs.
Well,
What you don't know is
if
what it
it,
costs to get the permits.
well, I mean, once they do the design, it might change the construction cost.
But are you allowing them to change the design? Or are you just trying to get them to, you already know what you want
There
built.
was no, I think the confusion is there was no design done originally. We said, hey, this is what we want done.
Yeah.
But now we have to pay for design that we never had to do. And the
But-
design might come back with a different plan than what we,
So I think what he's
Got a
saying is
quote on?
tell them what you want, and all we're asking for really is the
Design this, we want
runoff
the-
calculations.
right,
Design it and design, create a
Here's the
plan with
spec.
exactly what
Here's the
we want.
spec.
yeah,
Uh,
I see, yeah.
Here's our napkin drawing, turn it into an engineering drawing and give us the calculation.
Yeah.
It can't cost that much, right?
You
A
wouldn't think
couple
so.
grand,
You wouldn't think so.
and then you still have the money left over for the other.
We should. Yeah, by all means.
Yeah, I think it's, it would be hard to say tonight what the committee would do. I think apart from maybe they would, we would easily sort of say, is it okay if we use the money to do a little different? You know, that happens often where a person says, we want to tweak the project a little bit. So if tweaking the project meant no additional dollars from the committee, they'd be really willing to say, sure, go ahead and spend it on engineering. But now you just chiseled off a little bit of your money.
Mhm.
Well, it was all encompassing when we first made
Right,
the
but-
application.
Right,
Yeah.
but we started this discussion saying we'll probably exceed what we already got. So I don't know the real remedy to that. Because
But first-
the project's getting longer and a little more expensive.
Understood, but first we have to do that runoff thing first, right?
Yes.
That's
That's-
design.
that's-
So we don't even talk about anything until we get the runoff thing.
well.
No, we need to hire somebody.
They
to
would-
do the
they would-
calculation.
Okay, then that's what we need.
They would say, oh, here's what you wanted, okay, here's your design, and based on that, here's your calculations.
Here's your
for the company."
stormwater calculations, yeah. That's the part that we might not, we don't know how much that will cost.
It can't be much.
Yeah, all right,
Well, I thought there was a question at one point in time of removing a tree.
Yeah, so there's two trees that are gonna need to be removed because the grading that's gonna need to be done to lessen the slope is going to impact the root systems of two of those trees over there, one on each side. And so if they're not removed, they're gonna die.
$1,000 a tree.
It's gonna cost more than that.
Why,
Yeah,
why? do you
Get
Because
think?
the
you have
roots
to
out
replace
too,
the
though.
trees.
That's, yeah, a few hundred.
With blueberry bushes, we're all set.
Well, if they're big trees, you're gonna have to replace them with something of relative caliber. It's not going to be,
and does the tree committee have to determine what trees we put in there?
well, Conscom will, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they want to take out the Bradford pear at the high school that are considered an invasive species and they're gonna make them put in, gonna cost them several $1,000s to remove those and put in trees of comparable caliber or enough caliber. So it's not going to be cheap to remove those trees.
It's enough caliber, which I think is like $500. I mean, that's my experience.
Yeah,
He's got experience in that.
You know,
He's right on the lake. He knows.
you've struggled with them on that.
Okay, well, that's not happening.
At the high school, if there's no water near it.
it's whenever you're moving trees.
We're gonna lose Tim in 9 minutes.
I think we lost. we're
You've
losing
already
Tim.
lost me. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think we're losing Tim. I mean,
I think we've done
Tim, I
this.
think this is it. Those are all the pressing, projects and issues on my list.
Tim, it's unfortunate you're not here because you're not gonna be able to share the cake that we brought for you.
Oh. Bad time to be sick.
I know, we were thinking dumping Gatorade on you and all that stuff, so, but not this time.
Oh, wait a minute, he can see us online.
No, Tim,
Well-
we have nothing but thanks and praise for you and, appreciate your input and your efforts on our behalf. And wish you all good luck. taking
Yeah,
over, Conservation.
It's been great getting to know all you guys and helping you guys out with projects and everything. And I'm happy to, I've been happy to do so. It's been a good.
Well, we're glad we're not losing you. You're still in Littleton.
Oh, we'll be
You'll see us.
We'll be tight.
Okay, group
Oh
hug.
yeah, I'm sure
There
we'll
you
still
go,
be in,
yeah.
we'll still be in
Bring it in.
contact. And I mean, conservation has an interest to be just more so near term things. I'd like to attend that DCR meeting as well. From a conservation standpoint, I mean, we're a stakeholder in that. So
Excellent.
I'll see you guys at that as well.
Very good, very
Great.
good. Well,
All
again,
right. Well, you guys have a good night.
Feel better.
You go to bed, feel better
Thank
soon,
you.
huh?
Yep. I'll be in there in no time. All right.
Appreciate you coming through tonight. I appreciate that a lot. Thanks.
Yep. All right.
Bye. Can we go over the funding and the either stabilization or revolving fund?
Yes, let's talk about that a little bit.
There's a CLC budget, new select board funding.
This is,
And park and rec?
well, yeah, it includes both of those, I think, at this point, and it's worth bringing up, the CLC budget was, announced back on the 28th of January. The select board, is giving us $25,000
Yay.
for fiscal year 2026. $10,000 of that, $5,000 being allocated for Dolphin Pond, for a plant survey up there. $5,000 to examine the lake leveler at Long Lake and condition of the beaver dam, and make any necessary repairs or adjustments. Been banged around a little bit up there, and then $15,000 is being allocated to the stabilization fund. And that's where the funding is. We come to understand that the stabilization fund is accessible only through a town meeting approval. So it could be 13 months before we could realize the requested funds. Is that?
So I think this was my fault that I suggested going to the stabilization fund and I picked the wrong term. Apparently, and that you need a revolving fund. Because when you.
I didn't realize stabilization fund had all this criteria to it.
It was my mistake
It's all
completely.
good. Fine.
It should be a revolving fund that you want. What happens when money goes in the stabilization fund is it has to come out at a town meeting vote. When it goes in a revolving fund, you can spend it as it goes along, but the funds don't expire at the fiscal year boundaries.
This is what we're looking for.
Yeah,
That's what we.
That's what I was trying to get you to, is something that the money didn't go away at the end of the year.
Right, right.
And I picked the wrong one. So
I see.
I think it's the revolving fund that you need.
Okay, again, we're wading into this for the first time, most of us, but, yeah.
There's so many different municipal things and I was wrong. So
Are we locked into stabilization fund?
No,
Or we
no,
can still-
we-
can
No,
still-
well, at this point,
This is why it's timely, because we have until March 10th to work with select board. That's when the final requests get
Right,
So,
sort of solidified.
so the idea would be like, if Park and Rec's giving you money, or it would go into this revolving fund, and then if you didn't spend it in the course of the fiscal year, it doesn't go away. Like the
that's what we
CPC
want.
funds.
That's like our cell
don't
tower
go away.
funds. used to
Right.
be.
Deadline for that.
right.
March 10th.
Got
So
it.
I got confused because the Oak Hill is a stabilization fund that things were going into before, right? But
Oh, okay.
Well, stabilizing the lakes seemed like the right thing to do.
Yeah. so it's the revolving fund. So there's a lot of confusion about what you actually want. So I'm pretty sure that you want a revolving fund,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you need to go back
Yeah.
to the TA and tell them revolving.
Sure.
So I have two questions about the revolving fund. Is it right that in order to set up a revolving fund, you need to have a steady stream of income from year to year?
I don't think so.
Or
That was being discussed last night.
maybe steady is not the right word.
Saul might
Uh,
know.
Repeatable.
Yeah, there was something mentioned about that last night, and I don't know the answer, but that was the revolving
Okay.
fund suggests some sort of stream of income that's coming in and then expenditures going out, I think is the intent. So it may be that, and I think like I think tried to set something up for the conservation department or committee, I'm not sure which one we ended up doing, but where CLC gave them some money in a fund that didn't have to go to town meeting every year. It was for the incidentals and emergency things, short-term things. I think you gotta talk to Ryan and Steve and those guys and figure out what the right path is. It may be that you want a little bit of money in a revolving fund and the sort of the big chunks go into a stabilization fund. I'm not sure.
Got it.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not clear that we're getting big chunks, so,
The CPC money is different in that
yeah,
it doesn't expire. It's
Right.
to a project.
That's
Well,
fine,
it does
yeah.
kind of expire according
3
to what the
years.
CPC rules are.
yeah,
But you don't have to spend it on the fiscal year.
yeah.
If the town or the water department, when they give you money, it's more on the fiscal year, and whatever you don't spend goes back into free cash,
Mhm.
basically. So if you want to have money that you can hold on to from year to year, it has to be in a revolving fund. So if Park and Rec is giving you money, it's best if it goes into a revolving fund, and then you can figure out how to spend out of that versus the money
Yeah.
that.
And we were enamored of the idea of having some sort of fund that carried over like that. Because, well, of course, this is just the beginning of this sort of thing. The first time the select board has offered us some kind of funding in our new iteration is kind of this.
And I will say that we're talking, I think there was discussion of setting up a stabilization fund for Park and Rec because, we can't actually we're limited to how much money we can hold in that revolving fund. And so to save money for a major project doesn't really fit in our revolving fund.
Okay, so long term, you guys are leaning towards a stabilization fund.
Or both.
Well, they're gonna end up with, so Park and Rec has a revolving fund where they pay, where, all the receipts from like,
Camp and
camps
beach
come into,
fees
and then
and,
they pay the money out of.
yeah,
Wages
too.
and what have you.
So the revolving fund is where all of those monies come and go. But like if they wanted to get more of like a savings account, they don't want it in the revolving fund.
yeah,
Because people look at their revolving fund and say, look at all that money that you're saving. We're not going to pay Sal's wages anymore, right? His stipend's cut off, or things like that, right? So they want to be able to say for, rehabbing Fay Park or something else in some other bucket. I mean, like we've done that with we put money aside for the town, you know, for the senior center, for Shaker Lane, you know, all of these go into these stabilization savings account that
I see.
are big things that, you know, then when that big thing rolled around, we asked for the money out of it and say, look at how great we were. And you can think of the stabilization accounts like CDs, basically,
Mhm.
that you're putting on their 6-month CDs and you can only get.
Oh, so it's a long-term thing. It really is.
It
Yeah,
really is.
yeah.
You can only get the money out at town meeting.
Got it.
So we don't have projects like that right now. I think it's
We
useful.
don't, but we need to move towards that. And
Well,
I agree. I agree with you. We don't. And we have more pressing matters immediately.
So I think talking about trying to accumulate a lot of money is kind of a red herring right now. And I think, you know, our needs are immediate, and, you know, we're more likely to have our thought for having an account like this was, you know, contingencies come up that we don't expect, and, oh, we don't have money allocated for that, but here's a fund that we can use for, you know, things that don't cost a lot, but we need,
But it's
right?
accessible.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
So that's what you want the revolving fund for.
right.
So
And,
like Park and Rec, if they're supporting Long Lake, or if the water department were to give you money, that you could,
Mhm.
like, I don't know, if a water department, you gave them and say, you know, over the next 5 years, we need $100,000, but we're gonna spend 150 one year and 50 the next.
Mhm.
Maybe they give you $100,000 and you put it into this account to stabilize
Mhm.
their expenses, because no one likes it when their budget goes like this,
Sure.
right? It looks really, it's really hard for them.
Yeah.
So they could put things into a revolving.
I just, kind of speaking for myself, I think we were coming from a position where these monies aren't assured. We don't know,
Right.
we don't know if we're gonna get $350 or
Right.
350,000, you know, at any one point in time, because this is just starting for us in terms of funding. And eventually, we imagine that a lot of the CPC funding will trail off,
Mhm.
and there'll be a more substantial amount from the select board annually. And yet, without anything to say, well, let's just have a revolving fund, let's have a stabilization fund, or whatever it is, to see where it starts. And then,
So you
once it
want-
starts, we start designating exactly what we're gonna do with that money.
so Ryan was willing to sit down for a quick meeting with people from Clean Lakes. If somebody from Select Board wants to be there, if somebody from Park and Rec wants to be there, and just have a half-hour meeting to, he can kind of clarify what our options are and what seems like, you know, would make sense for the various requirements that we've got or hopes we've got. I think that'd be a useful thing.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if the town can put money into a revolving fund for you versus allocating money for you in the budget, which is different, right? If we gave you $10,000 in the budget and you didn't spend the $10,000 at the end of the year, we're
Sure.
taking back whatever's
Sure.
left. Whereas if it's $10,000 in a revolving fund, that's basically your money to spend until it's spent,
Mhm.
right? It's not, that's where they're different, and I don't know if the town can put money into a revolving.
So that would be one of the reasons to meet with him,
Yes,
you know, and could we set up a revolving fund that both the select board and Park and Rec could contribute to, you know, that would be another question. And, you know, yeah,
Or if
so,
need be, we can keep these things separate. I mean, one of the things we were saying last night was, Parks and Rec would be thinking, well, you know, these monies would be allocated at Long Lake. Maybe even improve the beach, you know, and why
Right.
not?
yeah.
You know, it's
Have
not like
one
those
revolving
contributions
fund
should-
from the select board and
so
one
you
from Park
can
and
have
Rec,
the one revolving fund and then just have better.
accounting.
Park and Rec has one revolving fund, and then they have the accounting for how they spend it. And got it from all their different sources,
Okay.
right? So,
Well, we definitely have to have that meeting and wait.
So, one of us should talk to Ryan about setting it up. Do you think-
Rob Brown sent out a notice today, trying to get that sort of thing established, so.
Right, but there wasn't okay, so, Saul, do you think somebody from Park and Rec would be interested in attending that?
Yeah, oh, definitely.
Okay, and somebody from Select Board from there?
Karen
Okay,
or I won't be there.
all right, so we can work with a quick few emails over the next couple of days to try to set that up, talk to Ryan, and we can have a couple options on when to do it.
Saul and I prefer meeting at Dirigible.
Say that again.
Brewery, yeah.
I haven't been there yet.
I'm
Is it
there.
good? You enjoy it?
Oh, that's
They
a.
make all kinds of agreements. You agreed to what?
Well, the conservation community
been
has
there.
made a good effort at asking them to brew
Yeah,
beers
me too.
with a conservation flavor to it, like.
No.
No, I'm serious, you know, spearmint twig
That's
or
right.
Oak
Oh,
Hill
okay.
nutty. We should have a,
I always
we
have
should
to
have a
bring my-
Mill Pond Porter,
Well,
a Long Lake
Not
Stout.
sure that's very appealing.
The little stuff floating on
Seltzer.
top, yeah.
Crystal
Do not
Lake.
disturb sediment while
Chewy beer?
We should do it.
Okay, so,
Beaver Dam.
Rob and I can work with Ryan to get that set up.
Very good.
Super, okay.
All
Um,
right, is that agenda item?
That was
It,
an agenda.
well, it was one of
It
the
was
ones that got,
related to
that got
the,
sent this
Select
afternoon,
board funding.
you know.
And as a result, we should continue on. We met last night, for the first time with Park and Recreation and, they agreed in principle that, they would like to make some sort of a future contribution. And they have some discussion to do about the whole thing, but all in all, a very positive development and, and a little bit of a pinch, right, Saul? These things, aren't automatic.
No, it's, as Mark said, we have a large number coming in. We also have a really large number going out.
Yeah.
And so, the adding anything or, sending money in a different direction means adding cost to the programs, but
Yeah,
I
one more
think
thing
it's-
is always one more thing.
that's right. I think we'll find a path to it, but, there'll be a little pain, but we'll figure it out.
We think, well, we're very grateful as a committee for that. And I hope it leads to great things. Long Lake will be the benefactor, so.
So the other one that should happen on Long Lake is someone needs to talk to the Conservation Commission for all the docks that are on Long Lake that are on town property, and we should just a fee to them that they're paying for the Long Lake keep too.
Ooh.
Mark, that's actually you guys,
It's Conscom that's controlling it.
but you are the select board is the harbor master.
Okay, well, I'm fine with it. Someone just
What's
has
your
to help
feeling on
us.
that? Because, the brochure came out this past year.
I don't even know what brochure you're talking about.
Conservation Commission came up
shoreline,
with the new shoreline guidelines.
brochure. And,
never saw it.
for everybody who has,
It's kept secret, pretty much, they haven't distributed it.
Conscom, I can get you a copy. Or I can fold one together for you. It just says, that, everybody who has a dock needs to register it with the state. And make sure that it's not an obstruction, in any, to navigation or to help. Of
So,
course, as we all realize, it's town land. Around most of Long Lake, there are a few property owners that have, lakefront property, but most who have docks do not. And, the
So-
status is at this point, from what I understand, if improvements to homes are being made, the request will be before a permit's issued that the dock is removed.
The dock will have to be permitted.
Removed
Well, I mean,
It's
if it can't
on-
be
it's a
permitted, then. it would
private
have to-
dock. on town land.
I mean, it's up to the town, I
It's
guess.
kind of hard to reconcile that.
There's less than 10 of these though.
Doesn't matter. It's kind
Well,
of
I'm
hard
just-
to reconcile
right,
this.
I mean,
In
there,
terms of like a big funding source,
Oh.
there's not that many of them.
I mean, there are a lot of towns
Depends what you
that
charge.
authorize
True.
private docks on their land. A lot of towns do that.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
so I think it's hard to justify that we're charging Park and Rec's contributing for their use of Long Lake, but the dock owners are not.
Well, if the dock owners didn't have to remove their dock with as a result of applying for a legitimate dock.
I had nothing, I don't know anything about what you're talking about, where that was not anything the select board.
It's parkland. The shoreline is parkland.
Yeah, I understand that, but that notice wasn't from the select board. We had nothing
That
to
was
do
from
with
the
that.
state.
That's from,
No,
no,
that was
it's from Conscom.
Littleton Conservation Commission.
But
Oh, okay.
my general feeling is if if we're
Because we
trying to
must
make
add-
Park and Rec contribute for their use,
I'll tell you when.
then the other users should
I'm
contribute
permanent,
as well.
permanent.
That's all of the
Well, it's
taxpayers in the town, though. That's,
I don't have a
mean,
dock
Wait a
there.
minute.
I don't have a dock, but I use the lake
I think there's one.
a lot,
on West
right?
Main.
So,
Well, I don't have an issue with that, but I hadn't even brought it to anyone's attention except to say,
Permit.
be forewarned, if you are making improvements to your home, you're gonna have to remove the
I have a
dock
dock.
in order to
There's
proceed.
one in Westfield.
And it doesn't seem like a very equitable.
Only three.
I,
in the whole-
yeah, I don't know anything
When I
about
did
that, and I,
mine,
yeah,
maybe
I,
there's more.
I
Maybe
can
we-
see
maybe-
more where
When I did
we can talk
mine-
more on that.
Maybe
on
we
that.
should come in front of the
When I
select
did my
board and,
walls just
well,
went away.
in conjunction with
You, another one,
Conscom
and us.
and see where we can go with that.
down with docks.
Was that- I mean, I had suggested at a past,
When it was-
Long Lake Neighborhood Association meeting that perhaps the town would
That should be.
build docks in designated locations that could be shared. So people wouldn't need to have illegal docks. But again, that's just one avenue and,
Down,
yeah.
down home.
Suggest things.
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
But I'm 99 years.
But
But
seriously, there's only like 10 on the whole lake.
Think about it.
I mean, I'm just doing a mental count.
I
Even on
don't
private
have an
properties.
issue with that,
Yeah.
you know, and, you know, if you're a family that has, a bunch of kids and you got a little, well, you have,
Mill Pond's
Lake-
the same
lake
way, by
access
the way.
across
No
the
one owns
street.
Mill- The town owns all the way around Mill Pond too.
it's all private.
No,
What,
I
No,
thought,
it's not.
you know why?
What?
Because I think Mrs. Stenstrom gave the town the land on the other side or on that
Basin
one
two,
side, because remember we asked her to do that so that we could do the work
yes,
on that pond?
that's
And
only.
Mrs.
I'm
Stenstrom
pretty sure if
used
you
to
look
own
at
the
Mill
whole thing.
Pond, that this town
Oh, that
owns the
one side.
shoreline along the whole way.
Are there docks
People
along?
that own
Mill Pond?
property to the thread of the stream.
Not sure. Look
Yeah.
up,
That's,
look up.
Oh,
the
yeah.
that's the only,
GIS
that's the
map.
only way they can get a septic system on, they actually own land underwater.
That, it may be some, but there's quite a bit of town front property, town underwater property there too.
Oh, yeah, no surprise, yeah,
Huh.
yeah, so, yeah, it's.
All right, that was not on the agenda
Well, no, we love asides here, so.
to talk about docks.
So, moving right down the list, I've got the 2024 CLC annual report in the works. I do not have a draft copy of it tonight. I was hoping to, but a few other things got in the way. So that is due on Friday. I will try to circulate, an advance or a draft, before then.
Who does that go to? Is that a requirement?
Goes to the
by-
town and it comes out as part of
Part of the annual report.
the annual report, and you can get a copy.
You give it to
at the
Diane?
meeting, so, yeah.
Lisa.
Yeah. Lisa, yeah, Montgomery.
Hmm.
So, yeah, and then, yeah, that's that. Let me look down my short list. Oh, we have an item from Mitt, on other business tonight, and that is, your request for, from, Jerry.
Yeah,
Hello?
he's not appearing tonight.
That's
apparently.
okay. I didn't think
But-
we were even gonna get to this, but,
No, it's fine.
A motion to adjourn.
I think
3 minutes.
he should bring it up himself. I'll just tell you
that's
that,
fine.
Jerry,
Cavallo.
Well,
Cavallo, the owner of Johnny Putt Farm, was interested in seeing if, suitable, if there could be trout fisheries enhancements around Beaver Brook, that there's some stretches of it that are good trout fishing. And he
over
says,
near Farley Lumber.
yeah, near Parley Lumber, and that the state even stocks it, but the trout don't stick around because the water's not to their liking. And if, their options are just go downstream right now, but if Mill Pond were drained and turned into more meadows and stuff, it might be part of a longer term fisheries enhancement project, so. It's the kind of thing that the state would be interested in listening to as a proposal. And
What do you think the neighborhood would think?
it's pretty far out. The hardest thing would be able to come up with an accurate, I think, this is just me. I can't even picture what it would look like, but I think it could be pretty cool. It's just how to create a vision for the plan that people could get behind. Because it wouldn't look like it currently looks. But a lot of people would just think that the body of water would go away and would revert to forest, which I don't think it would.
Well, I think you'd have emergent woodlands at some point in time. We were talking about
Yeah.
that in terms of creating emergent woodlands, with the dredge
Dredging.
material at one point in time, years ago, but,
Yeah, that was in a more remote location though.
well, that was
not near
Basin 5 or something like that.
Yeah,
but,
Basin 5, but not on the main stem, so.
But
I think-
you'd have a stream, Beaver
Yeah.
Brook would continue on through there, and people would actually own that property that's currently underwater. People
If
that
they
have
do.
land underwater, and,
They might, I mean, the state would probably still own it, right?
no, they literally own land.
Currently, they already
Their
own it.
property
Oh, I
lines
see.
go right to the thread of the brook,
Oh,
and so it's like, yeah, that's
Who
that's
does?
the only way they could build.
well, then you know where it would go, where
The
the stream would
houses
be.
on the waterfront, is that what you're saying?
Houses underwater.
Yeah, they did,
Yeah.
that's right.
So if
They'd have a
With the
backyard.
big town.
Yeah,
Yeah, you-
you have a much bigger yard.
Yeah.
A while back, I don't think you were at these meetings, I presented to the board, I saw on a Chronicle meeting that they are not, the state or whatever doesn't want to fund anymore cleaning lakes anymore. They want to just bring them down the rivers.
they want to remove dams.
They want to remove dams. They
Statewide.
want to make it back to
Right, no,
nature.
we got that news when
And,
they pulled the plug on
Right,
the permit
Yeah.
process.
That was their suggestion.
yeah, that was their suggestion. So, I mean, you'd get help from the state on that one.
Is it a state dam or a federal dam?
I'm not sure.
I think it's a state dam. I think they improved the dam before 495 went in.
I
It
think,
seemed to be-
that was part of the construction of 495, as I understand it, and DOT would have to approve taking it out.
But it was built in 1700s, the dam.
Not that.
No,
Oh,
I don't
no,
think it
no,
was,
no, no, no.
it was,
Oh,
No, it
That
goes
was
back in the
before-
1700s where they used to dam up the stream
mhm.
and flood those fields,
I see,
for
okay.
ice. And then
I
they'd
see,
harvest
okay.
ice all winter long. And then, of course, there'd be nice new, silt on top of all the land, so all the people who had property would farm that, during spring, fall, and winter.
Yeah, according to the
Bill
GIS,
Cosby.
the town owns most of the land. There's only a couple property owners that have land that goes to the middle of the stream.
well,
Well, for years, we were talking about buying land back for $1, so, there were quite a number of people who seemed to think they had land underwater.
They were willing to take the dollar?
Well, we didn't get that.
So anyway, I think he heard our discussions around dam removal in various meetings, and it started to percolate for him, and he asked if he could come to one of our meetings, and I said, sure, I'll try to put you on the agenda. And I don't know if he responded to you. I copied you
No,
both
I
on the email.
I just got your copies, but, I am curious. Well, it does beg the question as to whether or not we can continue with the, Mill Pond Subcommittee, of which you would be a member, I'd be a member, I think, Matt Silverman was.
We do have members already.
I mean, there are existing men, we just never met. And I think it would be good this year to move that forward. And especially if there are, you have neighbors who are interested in doing something, seeing something done, that, it would-
And dam removal isn't the only thing that people are talking
True.
about,
Oh, true.
including Jerry. He was saying, well, we could do a drawdown as well. So let's talk more about that
Yeah.
in the subcommittee.
but I'd like
Thank you,
to see
John.
that happen, and do you know Luigi?
I mean, they could do the same thing just by opening the dam.
Oh, well, I don't know how much you can open or how much you can lower it. Again, I have no idea.
They haven't been interested in opening it because when I went and we did the water quality over there.
Yeah.
They, said they had never opened it because they were afraid they wouldn't be able to close it. I mean, the valves and all that.
Sure, yeah.
But I think that would be something you could explore first.
Well, yeah, I don't know who you begin to talk to, but we could reach out and find out who's responsible for maintaining the dam.
If you want cold water, the I don't think the trout go down to Mattawanaki.
There used to
So-
be some brook trout up in that little corner, over near Gilson Brook. Now, is it Gilson Brook or that? Is that Gilson Brook over
Yeah, that's
there?
Spec Pond though, Gilson Brook.
Oh, by Westford, where Westford?
No,
comes
no,
in?
where we take the stuff out where Matheson's
Oh,
farm comes
Slip
up.
Brook,
Slip Brook.
yeah.
Over there, we used to catch a few in there. You'd walk along the edge and then you could throw your stuff in there and you'd catch a trout in there. Other than that, I've never caught a trout anywhere else.
So I mean, where do they stock it, by Parley? That doesn't seem
I think we
reasonable.
should adjourn, because we'll
Yeah.
find out more
Hold on, well,
information
no,
out
this is,
later.
this is interesting. Well, yeah, also through,
I
one
do
of
too.
your,
I
one of
think we
your,
should.
members at, CPC was saying that he enjoyed having, boat access, on Beaver Brook at that point.
Over there?
Evidently, that it could be improved to have a little bit of a
Couldn't go very far.
towel around your stream there. So,
Yeah.
you know, I've never cased it out, but, if there's interest, we don't deal with developing streams, or we haven't yet, but we could consider it.
They could just talk Mattawanaki, and it's deep enough that the bottom of the water at the bottom's cold, they'd stay. It's very cold at the bottom.
Well, sure.
Motion to adjourn.
Hold on. Anybody have anything else?
Yeah, so,
We had
we,
a couple of items, right?
we can, yeah, well, we covered most of the ones that I sent you.
Okay.
The one that we haven't is, I was suggesting that we, update the 5-year plan to include, we've been talking about lake management plans for a while, but we've never put them into the 5-year plan.
True.
And we don't have to do it tonight, but I think, we should do that, and probably the thing to do is, look at,
Running again.
for Long Lake, when would you wanna do it? For, Mattawanaki, when would we wanna do it? And,
I think that's great.
yeah.
And milk.
And I think we have to upgrade the 5-year plan based on our current budget anyway,
Anyway, yeah,
so.
so I think maybe we take a pass at that before the next meeting, and we can
I think that's a great idea.
discuss it,
Maybe you and I can do that.
yeah.
At least we know.
Was that it?
Well, no, I had 4 things, but we covered 3 of them already.
Yeah, I thought we'd be picking up on it. Just a couple of random ideas that Dave was concerned about, and they got covered by
Yeah.
Tim earlier, so it's good.
Yeah.
I think that's it for me. Anything else? We need a date for our next meeting,
Next meeting, is Tuesday good?
and we actually have some deliverables next time. It'll be March, and we'll need to have, this, DDR completed.
So I think it would be good to, in the next few days, distribute like action items for,
Okay,
like,
we have the
like,
DDR, we have the, meeting with DCR.
yeah,
We have to get,
Uh-huh.
I will write questions up for that.
meeting with Ryan.
Meet with Ryan.
Meet with Ryan.
The bidding. So if we,
The job description, Tim's gonna work on a job description.
I have these things in the minutes.
Yeah.
I wanted to possibly address that. I mean, the minutes that I took last month weren't ready tonight. That's my fault, but I'm a doer. I like the work of taking notes, but I'm also a procrastinator, so I do not like
well, don't let us hold you back from actually completing the minutes.
completing them.
So,
Well, for
so-
this meeting,
What-
I wonder if I could,
what
let me
we,
finish,
what we
please.
failed to mention
That,
is that
I could
minutes are
send
the week
the
after.
draft of the minute
Ooh, I
to
like
somebody
that.
to take them and carry them.
Yeah, well,
Because I'm not officially the clerk. I like to think of
no, well,
myself
if you're,
as-
if
You
you're
can
gonna,
send them to me.
you're
and
gonna
I
stick
can
your
do
foot in
that.
it.
Okay.
I will do that.
So I have a quick thing for you.
That's
guys.
collaboration.
So, Jamie Aldridge every quarter runs a meeting he calls the Green Advisory Committee. The next meeting, I believe, is March 8th. It's a Saturday. It's usually from 10 to 12. It's been in Acton the past. It's either in Acton or Stowe usually. If someone would like to come, I'll send you the invite. There's at least someone there from Harvard all the time that is on the the water, did the dash over at Harvard.
Mhm.
There's someone that gets up at every meeting and talks about oars and Clean Lakes and Stowe. So if you guys, anyone wants to come, I'll send you the invite and you can at least meet people from other communities that may or may not be going through the same thing. I tell you that most of the meeting probably won't be around lakes. It's usually around energy or something else, but if anyone's interested, I'll forward out the invite. There's,
March 8th, you said?
I think it's Saturday, whatever that first Saturday is, yeah.
Yeah, it's Saturday.
I'm sort of interested.
So I'll send
I'm
you,
theoretically interested.
I'll send you the invite and then you can,
Okay,
March 1st?
March 8th,
March 8th,
Oh, second. Saturday.
I think.
yeah, right, sorry.
So the next Clean Lakes meeting,
I'll
what's
send it
the
off to you and
possible date for that?
Sarah and I will be.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
18th,
my Cammy Bean.
Yeah.
11th? 11th, I guess.
Morning again.
Tuesday, the 11th? Lisa, does Tuesday, 11th work for you?
Anyone else? can-
Lisa looks like she's muted.
Probably
I'm
Tuesday.
trying to get- you do that.
Maybe Lisa could give a thumbs up.
He's asleep.
Remember whispers.
What are we saying, March 11th?
I
He
don't know.
expected her to hear it.
March
Yes,
11th.
March 11th.
Does that look good?
Yeah, I can do that.
And I really enjoyed eating my dinner during the meeting, by the
That
way.
was
Thank you, everybody.
discreet and very cool.
But, do we have to meet at 6? Is that, what's the
Wait a
precedent
minute,
for
you
that?
had a
So we meet
11?
at 6 so that the liaison who doesn't
Won't be
live
here.
here and who's been here since 7:30 in the morning doesn't
Sure.
have to stay until 9:30 at night.
It's, yeah, it's usually based on the program that they keep or the schedule they keep. And all day that they've been at work and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, I'm
So if Nick's coming, we should probably,
I get home and I could barely eat.
Yeah, 6 is a little
You
early,
need a better
but
job?
we wouldn't want to be here until 10 o'clock at night too.
What would be a better time?
I get
5:30?
paid overtime, so
5:30?
I like it.
I think
That's right.
it's 6:30, he's saying. You
6:30?
would rather 6:30.
Oh, I
30
see.
would be good.
6:30 to 10?
Sounds like a select board meeting.
Well, wait a minute, I get up at 3
So,
and to stay.
March
up-
I think
No,
our
that's not
challenge
gonna-
is to try to keep these to 2 hours, which we did not do
Yes, we should
tonight.
do this.
we had a lot to
Um,
cover tonight.
We
we,
did.
we had a lot to chew on and it seems like
Yeah.
every month we just keep getting dumped.
Should we try 6:30? That's what I'm asking. I guess that would be nice if you
Wanna
didn't.
float
mind.
that?
I can do 6:30.
I can do
As long as
6:30.
we only do 2 hours.
Let's do 6:30.
Yeah, Nick will
6:30
probably be
and
here
2
by
hours.
6:30 is probably good. for
Always,
him.
always happy to try new things.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll try to keep being the, move us along. Sometimes I throw wrenches in it myself. Did we adjourn?
We are about to.
Okay.
Someone got a second it?
Chuck, really?
I move to adjourn.
Chuck,
Is anyone opposed? to
you second it?
I second, I made the
He
motion.
pre-seconded.
Yeah, you made the motion and now
Oh, I second.
somebody else did the motion, now you're
I
seconding it.
think we're adjourned and thank you all for
All
coming
right,
out.
second.
I hate the formality of it all.